Hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots, Toyota. Let's go places.
Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
And I don't understand why everyone's freaking out. This loss didn't help me. I'm not feeling any better after this loss.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. And the touchdown in that night, my God, was an incredible catch by Garrett Wilson.
Would be nice if, the Patriots had a player that can make that Garrett Wilson catch.
Wow. He spins it like in a different place.
Dark place. Evan on Tuesdays is
dark.
Dark.
He did do the vanilla nut tap.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But
you see it on video.
He did do, but I think he was like kind of kidding around with him he was.
If you did that in this office right now, joking around or not, HR would have a problem.
Only if Paul went to them.
If someone did that to me, I wouldn't be going to HR.
When we want to start talking about football again, I'll talk.
Okay. So we're not ready to do that yet. So you just hold on.
I'll just.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Wednesday here at Gillette Stadium, getting ready for the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys, huh?
Not so great last weekend, actually.
Yeah, not so great. But according to Bill, they're pretty great. Yeah.
He ran down the whole roster.
Yeah.
So did Mac.
Them losing last week, I think, is very bad for us, too.
You think so? Well, we were talking about that. You
Don't
think
come
they're
at Paul
going to
with
be
that.
focused?
No, that's.
I don't think
A lot of people think that.
lose 2 games in a row like that, especially, Cardinals.
I think they're looking ahead at San Francisco next week.
Yeah.
I think I'm telling you, there's a chance.
Trap game.
You think trap game?
I'm not saying that.
But I'm saying.
I don't know, Jim.
Do you have you felt any? I feel like Evan and I don't speak for Evan. I'm not speak for Evan, but I'm feeling
Is he still dark? I haven't.
No.
That was hard,
Opposite. I feel like we're both feeling some.
We've turned the page.
Yeah, both of us are feeling a little Patriots positivity about this game, and
why is that?
I'm taking the Patriots. I like the Patriots in this game.
I think I like what they're kind of putting. I don't know. I just kind of feel good right now. So I know people complain sometimes Tuesday shows too negative. Wednesday, I'm just going to be a cockeyed optimist. I'm not sure. I was looking at it today, going through it, and I'm like, I think this is going to be a tight game. I think they might be able to pull it out.
I like the Patriots.
I can't point to something specific of why I've kind of feeling, because we have to shoot the show on Monday and we have to make our picks. And you haven't even gotten over the Jets game yet. So initially I was kind of like, probably Cowboys, but I don't know. Feeling kind of positive.
Well, at least we know the weather won't be a factor.
Right.
That's
half the battle, right, Paul?
Yeah.
So the Cowboys' offense will be able to operate.
Offensive line for the Patriots as healthy as it's been, right?
Yeah.
Do we know?
Well, we'll see. I hope so. We'll see if Lowe's still out there, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious about Cole.
Strange?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about Cole Strange.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't really know if that's that much of a problem.
I see he's still in a dark place. I get it.
In some topics.
I just said I'm taking the Patriots this week.
Yeah. No, but I with the offensive line in terms of health, I don't know how much of Cole Strange not finishing last game was health related,
right?
Yeah.
Or performance related, or just
both.
health related,
or both.
Yeah.
Wait till the injury report comes out.
Yeah, we'll see who's out there today.
I know Bill loves to give us all that information.
With Godshaw too. He's wanting to see if he's out there
Godshaw
today.
That's the big key to me. If Godshaw is not going to play in this game, then my pick might change. But
good tease.
I don't.
Most guys go, if Joe Burrow plays, I like the Bengals. If he doesn't, I'm not sure. Devon Godshaw is the deciding factor.
Well, it is in a game like this. It's a huge factor.
She's not an internet model. She's real.
She's real.
This week has been insufferable. Just across the board.
We're getting him so mad. Okay, so Devon Godshaw, yes, he's an important guy stopping the run.
He's one of the
I can't with this week. I can't. Yeah. I'm over it.
But you didn't even like the way he's been playing.
Yeah, but they got nothing else. They got nobody else to put on the nose beside in a game like this. Obviously, if you're in a game where they're going to throw it 45 times and Barmore and those guys can play the nose position. But the reason why I like the Patriots, Mike was saying that it's because I think it's because of the Cowboys. They have publicly proclaimed that they want to run the ball offensively and they want to quote rest my defense. That's what Mike McCarthy said in the offseason, that they fired Kellen Moore because Kellen Moore wants to light up the scoreboard because points are bad, but I want to run the ball and rest my defense. So in this game, you have two teams that rank in the top 5 in plays per game. They both run 70-plus plays per game. The Cowboys only had 8 possessions last week against the Cardinals, and they won time of possession. They only had 8 possessions because everybody was running the ball. So I think the Patriots get into a game with Dallas that's 2017, 17-14, and a slugfest, an old-school slugfest. So why can't the Patriots win that game?
Why? Why does McCarthy want to do that? Like, why isn't their offense better?
I couldn't tell you. So the Patriots need to play that way because of their personnel, right? They need to lean on their defense. They need to control the ball on offense, and they need to run the football. Like, that's how the Patriots need to win football games. Dallas has Dak Prescott with the star-studded offensive line with CeeDee Lamb on the outside, and they've decided to put him under center and hand the ball off. It blows my mind. It really does blow my mind.
That's McCarthy is a run-first coach, Fred. That's the way he wants to play.
Yeah, and that, to me, if I'm the Patriots, I put my base defense out on the field. I say run the football, and let's play 17-14, and I'll take my chances. Because if Dallas comes out and spreads the field and lets Dak cook, the Patriots aren't going to score with them. But if they play the type of way that they've been playing the first 3 weeks of the season, I don't see why they can't win a game that's low scoring. That's how they win.
Well, I certainly would agree. If it's low scoring, that's the Patriots' sweet spot.
Like 25-ish?
Probably somewhere under that.
Yeah. 24 is really the number.
Preferably if the Patriots score first and have the lead throughout. Then I feel good.
But if the Patriots can get to 20 to 24 points, and not even joking, in all sincerity, Dallas is not going to purposely throw to score in this game. That's not how they want to play football.
Do you think they'd be tempted, though, of I think Jonathan Jones hopefully will play, but if he didn't play, might that be, could they potentially just switch it up and say, look, they've got no cornerback depth, let's just try to spread them out and try it? Could they?
That would be giving McCarthy a lot of credit that I'm not willing to give him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oof.
I think Dan Quinn's a great defensive coach. I think they have a really good defense. I think there are ways that you can expose it like the Cardinals did last week. Watching their film with Mike McCarthy is depressing. Because as a Dak fan, as somebody that's a Dak fan.
Is Jerry Jones okay with all this?
They're winning. So, I would say yes because they're winning. But the bottom line is that they run a very, very rudimentary offense. It's very simple.
Did you do much work on their defense?
Oh, yeah.
So I saw a couple of the big plays just watching highlights, and Mike and I are always peeking at Red Zone when we're doing post-game. I saw not a trick play, but it was like an end around to Rondell Moore that went for big yard. Did they run it conventionally and just gash them, or did they hit a couple of big plays and got it? Got it.
It's a fair question.
Did James Conner kill them between the tackles 25 times?
No, he ran it 14 times, but he killed them.
Okay, because I saw Moore had had to be a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, they had two really big plays.
Yeah, and one of them was.
So this is kind of to me what the Chargers did to the Dolphins in Week 1.
Similar. There was one zone read where Josh Dobbs kept the ball and ran for about 50 yards. So that you can take that out of the playbook, right? That's not happening. But a lot of what you saw from the run game with the Cardinals, the traditional run game, not talking about quarterback designs or whatever, is that a lot of the Cowboys like to be aggressive. They're a slanting front. They want to shoot gaps. They want to get in the backfield. And so they just used misdirection, and they ran at Micah Parsons.
So they had runs of 26, 44, and 45 yards.
Excuse it.
Connor had his longest run was 26. Dobbs was the one that Evan just talked about. And then Moore had the 45-yard touchdown. That's a lot of big plays in the running game.
Yeah, and they ran at Micah Parsons. They said, tee off, get upfield, get vertical, and we're going to wash you down, and then we're going to run it right behind you. And that's what they were able to do. I think there are ways that you can use that game plan, but I tend to agree with you, Paul, that they'll overcorrect now.
Right.
They'll fix it, and they'll come into this game and they'll say, well, the Patriots don't really have much of a passing game, so we have to stop the run. So I look at it as like that's the chess match between O'Brien and Quinn. Is Quinn's going to probably come out with some different things in the run game. What does O'Brien do to combat that? I also would say that, not having Trayvon Diggs is a factor. Their secondary looked completely out of sorts last week without Trayvon Diggs, and I'm not talking about like they don't have the horses. It was more they didn't have the assignments down, right? The communication and the on-field chemistry was a mess.
They did some mixing and matching too. They and I don't have all the names in front of me now, but I think they moved Duran. God, what's his name?
Yeah, their other corner. You're talking about the corner that took.
Yeah.
It's a Duran.
It is Duran.
Yeah, it's not Payne though.
I know a Duran.
That's a defensive lineman.
Not Do.
Where's my guy here?
Duran Bland.
Bland.
Is his name.
Yes. He kind of moved, and from like the nickel back into one of the regular starting spots. Obviously, Steph is there, but I think their safeties is still reasonable. I kind of always liked Malik Hooker. I don't know if he's a great player. I didn't say that, but I've always kind of liked him. I think they need to find the matchup where, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce the name, but the former Dolphins number one first-round pick, Noah Igbenogany.
He didn't play much last week.
Yeah, because he can't play.
Yeah, so Jordan Lewis was their nickel, and then Bland played outside, and Gilmore obviously plays outside. But to me, it was just there was at least 2 or 3 bad coverage busts without Diggs back there, just because those guys, Gilmore just got there. These guys haven't played a whole lot of football together,
So, all of that stuff to me adds up to the anatomy of an overlooked opponent, right? And I understand why people, and I know Alex has been with everybody else, that's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. It probably won't. It probably is going to get overcorrected, as Evan said. But what happens when you just don't put in the time? Because it's Arizona. They're not even trying to win. So what happens? You get the ball run down your throat for 225 yards because you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons trying to get 7 sacks today, and he's upfield and they're running right at him like Evan talked about yesterday. So, coverage breakdowns, assignment breakdowns. To me, it all adds up to a typical Cowboys team that's not paying attention because they, as Fred likes to say, they're smelling themselves. And that's why I think it's a good spot.
And
I think they could be absolutely overlooking this game as well.
And to that point, though, I would feel much better about it if we had really kind of gotten into a groove passing the ball and shown that they really can move up the field and take advantage of all those issues they have with their secondary right now. And I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they look past this game.
It's the Patriots.
Yeah, well, it's not
After
just the
coming
Patriots,
off that
but
loss last week, it's.
I just think they're looking. They think their competition is next week because we're the Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, but they've got to
San Francisco's the measuring stick. That's the game we're looking at.
I know, but they don't want to lose 2 in a row.
No, of course
Nobody
they don't
does.
want to.
I don't think that they're not going to be locked in. That's not why I'm taking the Patriots. I just like certain things about this matchup for the Patriots. I think the Patriots can run the ball on this team. I think they can throw it on them, too, if they can block up front. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but I look at this a lot like the Philly game where, your offensive line got its butt kicked for 4 quarters, but you still threw for 300 yards.
And usually when there's one guy that, like in this case, Micah Parsons, but, J.J. Watt we've seen in the past, Bill figures out how to neutralize that guy.
Yeah, I just
think
wonder
that-
where
you think that
whack-a-mole is
their
with
front is a
Dexter
one-guy thing?
Lawrence and
Well, I mean,
Odigizua.
I think they're a really good defense. Now, I don't know. I don't have much confidence that the Patriots will be able to run the ball like that. I think it'll be more like the Jets game for Dallas, where they'll just say, we need to stop the run today. And if they throw for 300-plus, it's going to be because the Patriots are behind. I'm really worried about some of the comments that came out of that game the other day. If I heard one guy say it, I heard every single guy, no turnovers, clean. If that's the goal every week is just to play safe and conservative and not do anything wrong, that's not going to be enough most weeks.
no, but they had to take that baby step. They had to reverse that trend. And that's why the focus was all about, not turning the ball over because.
No, I know that you don't want to turn the ball over. I understand that's a focus, but I would feel like Alex said, I would feel better if they ran a conventional offense and didn't turn the ball over. They scored 13 points and didn't turn the ball over.
Well, I think you're turning the ball over leading into the game. You know the weather's going to be bad. The emphasis was all about protecting the ball, to the detriment of, being a little bit more complex on offense.
I don't necessarily think they weren't complex. I think that they were more concerned about that than scoring. And I think they need to score. I'm with Evan on this. If it's a low-scoring game and they can win 20-17, I'm with Evan and Mike. I think they can win. I don't think it will be that. I don't think Dallas is going to be in the teens when this game is over.
And to that point, they may have not turned the ball over, but it still, to me at least, was disciplinary stuff that was killing their own momentum on offense. And that just
3 penalties on the second possession in the second half was
that one drive was bad. But I don't outside of that one drive, I thought really just the positive that I took away from it is how well they run blocked a really good Jets defensive front.
For sure.
And that was the first time all season long that I've seen them move the line of scrimmage in the run game, especially in the second half. They really got it going there a little bit with Zeke. And so if they can block like that moving forward in the run game, and I have my concerns about Vidarian Lowe and pass protection, but he's a strong guy. He can run block, and him next to Onwenu, and if Trent Brown plays like that, like he did on Sunday, and he plays like that consistently, then I think that they're going to be able to run the football again. And then, maybe that does take some pressure off the passing game. But I have my concerns that Dallas is going to overcorrect, like I said, and they're going to be ready to stop the run, like Paul said. But I think in general, that's the biggest positive. And to Fred's point of these little baby steps, okay, so now you've checked run blocking off. You cleaned that up a little bit this week. You didn't turn the ball over. You cleaned that up a little bit this week. You were able to run some more play action and do some different things from under center. Check that box off. It's baby steps, but those are the positives that you can take away from this game that hopefully lead to more points in the future.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
Sure.
Absolutely. Baby steps.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to they've got to prove to themselves that they can do it before anything else. And so, now you have to just build on it. Now you have to do it a second game. You can't just
I need to see them do it.
We blocked well that game. Now, we're good. No, you're not good. You got to build on consistency.
And I would say, these are things that you had to get right. Now it's about, can we conquer the next step, which would be to beat a playoff team, on the road. That's the multi-season long kind of.
I'm looking for some point. I think the best offensive game they had of the three was the first one. Now, you could argue and say, well, it doesn't really matter because they turned the ball over twice and you lost. At least they had a chance. They had a puncher's chance. They were moving the ball up and down the field that day. That's the only one of the three games that I thought they moved the ball consistently well. They probably should have had more than 20 points in that game. I think some of the decisions on fourth downs hurt them in that game, quite frankly. I think they left points on the field. I don't think they left a lot of points. They did miss 2 field goals. One of them's a 57-yarder. And,
at the end of the half,
we all know it was raining, so who knows what's going to happen when it rains.
Joe Cardona, looking at you.
I thought the first game, despite the mistakes, that to me was the baby steps. This was better than last year. We're moving the ball 400-plus yards, down in the red zone 5 times, 6 times maybe even. That to me was the encouraging side, and I think they kind of backslid the last 2 weeks.
I think part of my positivity, too, though, is I have resuscitated my optimism of Bill O'Brien and the offense getting better as the season goes. And I think kind of in comparison.
I've thought that from the start. I think that will happen.
From comparison, which – I don't know what it would have built towards last year, but I know that the players didn't really seem to buy into it. So I think it got kind of undercut, and they didn't show that development for, and to be fair, it's been a few years that you've really seen them peak at the end of the season, but that's kind of what I'm holding out hope for still. And I think, kind of connects to what Evan said yesterday of, there are plays there to be made, and if you believe that the offensive line can start to block a little bit, then maybe they can produce those points. But I think you're right. I talk sometimes in these big kind of narrative storylines of, can you beat a playoff time? When you boil it down, though, you're right. It's just, can you put up points?
I do share your enthusiasm in your faith in that it'll get better, whereas I never felt that last year. I think that they have a well-orchestrated plan. Let's put it that way. I don't know if the players are good enough to execute. I think Evan said that yesterday about the chunk plays. Yeah, right? Everybody's saying, they got to try to get it downfield. I don't know if they have the pieces to do that, but I do know that Bill O'Brien we'll have more Farrell Brown touchdowns, more examples of plays like that in different ways, periodically, just like Josh McDaniels did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What bothers me most about this game coming up is I think you're going to have to score points. I don't think you're going to win it with less than 20 points. And in week 4, I still don't know who our reliable receivers are. Who are the guys that you can count on? I think you can count on Hunter Henry to do what he does. And,
That's really kind of it.
Yeah. In terms of, in the passing game. Who are the
been hit or miss
guys
with everybody
that
else.
Matt can rely on? And no one's emerged yet.
Have
Really.
you guys not seen like a little bit from Kendrick starting to?
He's not consistent
It's
enough.
not consistent enough. Yeah.
Yeah, their receiving core has played like one of the worst in the league 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, they make no plays on the ball, like no plays. Like, and I understand that sometimes the throw could be a little bit better here or there, but every week you go and you watch these other teams, and these receivers are making catches outside their frame for the quarterback. Right, they're making these contested catches, catching back shoulders, catching balls over their heads. They don't make those types of plays down the field for the quarterback here. Let alone get open against man coverage. Like, that would obviously be the most important thing, the most stable thing that you can do week in and week out. But they're not even making plays on the ball. Yeah,
I would have liked to see
tough.
Parker week 1 though, because I think he might have had some opportunities. I mean, that's his thing.
Okay,
Like, he
but
can do that.
but he's in there
he
now,
hasn't done it. No, I know. It's been 2 games. It's and everything you guys are saying is right. But again, sample size, 3 games in. You've had some bodies moving around too. So I know what it is, but I know that that's something that they have in the bag with Parker and some of the downfield stuff.
I don't know for sure, but I think that they feel like Parker is that number one guy. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Because I would.
Oh, we've been saying that for 2 years, right?
I mean, I think that there are times where every once in a while he'll go out and he'll catch 6 or 7, and 2 or 3 of them will be exactly the way you're talking about, and you'll be like, wow, there's some plays.
Yeah.
Like 5 for 125 against Baltimore last year, with like 2 or 3 really nice contested catches near the sideline. But then, the next 3 games, it's nothing. And I think it's kind of similar with Kendrick Bourne. Like, the first game, he catches 2 beautiful touchdowns, and you're like, oh, okay. The next game, he's a bit player.
Yeah.
And then the next game, they didn't really throw the ball. I'm not blaming Bourne for that. He only threw the ball 29 times. But he's been kind of quiet.
But I find myself, like, kind of resting my hope on 2 rookies and a guy who's always hurt in Thornton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parker's interesting to me. I wonder, now this is the story with him. Like, he had a good training camp. I thought he was great in Green Bay. Like, he made some really good plays in the joint
Parker?
practices.
Yeah.
And then he gets hurt, and it's off the rails. Like, that throw that Mac threw to him on 3rd down on the little corner route, like, that effort's not good enough. Like, the throw could have been a little bit better, sure, but like I just said, like, every once in a while, like, someone's got to make a play on the ball for the quarterback.
And they'll hit some of these. They'll like, that was an example. The one of
They'll
Douglas
get a flag.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, again, they should have gotten a flag on
Right.
the Douglas one.
Yeah.
But I think that they'll hit some of these eventually. They're not going to go the whole year without being able to get any production down the field.
But just some consistency, I think, to Fred's point. Like, could we just get somebody who, just starts to stack a few games together where good game, not. And sometimes I wonder if it's related to the way they approach things with their game plan of, and which I don't really like sometimes. Like, I feel like guys want to get in there and have consistency and know what kind of opportunities they're going to get and not be like, oh, I'm out of the game plan this week. I'm not as invested if I get, my 7 snaps and I want to play a lot,
Like, I think that bothers Bourne a little bit.
Yeah.
How he's sort of yo-yos back and forth with usage.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Let's go to the
There's a cough
phones.
button over there.
Tyler's in oh, no, he's just listening. What?
I like to listen.
He said he has bad service and can't listen to the show, so he just wanted to call in
So
and
he's
hang
just
on
going to
real
use
quick.
up one of our lines.
hope he's got a calling card
That's
or
fine.
something.
We're here to serve. Todd's in North Carolina. What's up,
Kinda
Todd?
clever, I guess.
Since Tyler's doing that, I'll make this really quick. I saw some stuff on the sideline where Coach Bill was talking to Mac a fair time, and then a couple times I saw O'Brien talking to him, and then all of a sudden head coach Bill comes up and talks to him again. It almost seems like, to me, that our head coach, Mr. Belichick, wants the offense to play not to lose instead of playing to win, and I'm worried about that because that approach I don't think is is feasible. And you guys want people to step up and, take the roles and, build the confidence. I don't think it'll work if they have that approach. So did I see things wrong, or, what do you guys think?
I think in the last game they were definitely playing not to lose. They were playing very conservatively.
But I'm also going off of history, and I don't know about last game. I don't know that whole. The only thing I saw was he told Matt, "Good job." I know on one of the play, I think he ran, and then there was a timeout, and he went over, and I think he lifted up his headset and said, "Good job," and then they moved somewhere else. So I'm not reading into that, but I think this happened last year. When Mac was turning the ball over a lot early in the year, then he got hurt. And the hatchet man, Mike Lombardi, came out and told you how he's going to be out of the league and lose his job if he continues to turn the ball over. And when he came back, he no longer was throwing the ball all over the yard the way he was the first 3 weeks, which was great statistically because he was no longer turning the ball over. But I don't think the offense ever looked as really, aside from maybe one night in Minnesota, I don't think the offense ever looked as dangerous as it did against Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, he does lead the league in deep pass attempts. So you can say that they're conservative, and I get the general take, but when you throw the ball in 3 weeks, you throw the ball 20+ yards 16 times and lead the league in deep pass attempts.
That's a fair counterpoint.
I don't know if that's really necessarily conservative.
I don't think it's necessarily conservative. I think that they're more concerned with not turning the ball over than anything else, but that is certainly a counterpoint to that mentality. Because you can't lead the league in deep passes and then say, well, I would argue that deep passes aren't necessarily dangerous passes, if that makes any sense. But
they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Now, I would also say to combat my own argument that I thought he threw a number of passes that were not wide open the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And he completed some of them.
Yep.
Some of them got knocked down, and some of them got completed. So he wasn't necessarily, going out of his way to be too safe with the ball. So we'll see. It was like Fred said, it was one game. We'll see if it continues to be a trend.
I think when, we were sitting there in the second half in the press box, and you felt like there was that mentality that Zach Wilson's not scoring 2 touchdowns against us.
That was my mentality.
Yeah. Right?
I just say keep punting.
We're up 10 points, and there's no way in hell the quarterback on the other side is scoring 14 against our defense in a quarter and a half. It's just not happening. So
they could still be playing and they wouldn't have scored another touchdown.
In some ways, you can't blame them for it. Now, it almost burned them, right? Yeah. And that was what I was kind of going after yesterday. But at the same time, I can't really blame them for thinking that.
It's not a strategy that's going to work against a lot of teams in the league. I mean, maybe one.
That might be the only one.
That might be it.
Yeah. Let's go to Edward in Myrtle Beach. What's up, Edward?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you?
Good.
Hey, I think this game on Sunday against the Cowboys, and I'll be quick and take your answer off the air. I think this game against the Cowboys could be really a turnaround game. I mean, you get to 2-2, you find a way to win that game, and then you got the Saints at home. Who knows what's going on with Carr, and then you got the Raiders on the road.
Yeah.
If they get this game against the Cowboys, they're 2-2. They might have a legitimate chance to get to 4-2. I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but Raiders aren't playing good.
Yeah, those are coin flip games. I totally agree. You have an opportunity to
go on a run
where the other team is not discernibly better than you, the way it has been the first 4 weeks. So I agree, but I would put those games in the coin flip category. In New Orleans in Las Vegas.
If we came into the season, and with the schedule being what it was, and obviously pre-Rodgers injury. I had told you in August that they'd be 2-2 after the first 4 of the games.
Yeah, sign me up.
That's what a lot of the locals thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of wishful thinking, but I also didn't know that Rodgers was going to get hurt.
Right. So that one obviously is a break. But if they beat Dallas and now they're 2-2 coming out of the first 4, you gave yourself a chance.
Yeah.
You survived it.
I would have said 1-3, and I would have said they'll find a way to win one of those games that the other team's going to be favored in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 2-2 is finding a way to win one of those games that the other team was favored.
But don't you think that before the Jets game, people were like, you have to beat the Jets because you're not going to be able to beat Dallas. But that's changed. That's changed.
Well, yeah.
The Jets was a must-win. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think we were all kind of holding our nose with
I totally agree with
Rodgers,
Fred's mentality. I totally – everybody was saying that. I don't know why it's changed.
Yeah.
But Fred's right. Everybody has said that.
And I think it's worth just saying, like, ahead of time that, I don't think that the Cowboys are, this great juggernaut or anything like this, but this is still a game that these Patriots haven't won in a few years.
Well, and the Cowboys don't really have that big home field advantage.
No.
Their record at home is not great.
I just think, like, you got it, like you said, baby steps, but this is just not a game that they've won the last couple of years. So to get this win, it's not going to mean, hey, we're back, baby. But I think it could really go a long way to say, hey, we can start to beat these teams that are good.
It's
you have to see the game.
It's more respectable.
How is
than
the
last
offense performing?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair too. But I also think just even like last week was you just got to beat the Jets. It's like I'll take a win over a good team, however it looks. Because they just haven't been able to win those games in any kind of fashion. Other than like the Bills win game. Like that one. All right, there you go. That's a asterisk kind of game of, well, we have to talk about the weather, but I don't think there'll be anything like that in this game. I mean, it should be pretty straight up.
I mean, they definitely have a pretty distinct talent disadvantage in this game.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the one thing. Like, there's a chance they get boat race. Like, there's a chance that Dallas is just – they have a lot more talent than the Patriots, especially on offense. But even defensively, like, Micah Parsons is the best player in the game. And he's a Cowboy. So there's a chance that the talent gap is too much, but I just think that the coaching gap in this particular matchup, I actually – think that they'll outcoach them. I think they have an advantage there.
Well, actually, one more thing I wanted to just bring up that I remembered was interesting to me. So Schottenheimer's their offensive coordinator, and I remember a clip from Eric Mangini when he went to the Jets, and he hired Schottenheimer as his offensive coordinator. And I remember him talking about specifically liking Schottenheimer against the Patriots defense because, and this is of course going back to 2006, so I mean it's a while, but specifically like the amount of pre-snap motion and the amount of communication that Schottenheimer's offense forced upon the Patriots defense. And I remember, and maybe you've heard this term, this is something I never, the Patriots defense is rule-based. And he said every time they move, every time we shift, there's 11 communications that have to happen. So if we move 2 or 3 times, there's 33 communications. And that was part of, it fed into 2010 too with the Browns when he was able to beat the Patriots as well. So I thought it was kind of interesting in terms of Schottenheimer continuing to kick around. If you're an offensive coordinator, you can work forever, I guess. But it was something that Mangini, someone from inside the system, kind of liked against the Patriots defense for whatever it's worth at this point.
They haven't done much of that through 3 weeks because I think this is McCarthy's offense. I don't think this is Schottenheimer's offense.
That's fair.
And so Schottenheimer is a West Coast guy. He's a Shanahan tree coach.
Yeah, they're 22nd in motion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree that there are ways that they could change their stripes and that would hurt the Patriots maybe, but not based off of the things I've seen the first 3 weeks.
Ethan's in Kentucky. What's up, Ethan?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Hey, Ethan.
Hey, I got a couple scheme questions for Evan, and I'll try to make it shorter than what it sounds like in my head. But I was wondering, as far as like zone or gap scheme, what does Bill O'Brien predominantly run? What does he ran this year?
Wait, sorry, what was that? There was
zone or gap scheme.
So they were pretty balanced the first 2 weeks, but they were predominantly gap last week, which I don't think was a mistake or a coincidence.
I got you. Second part of this, and then I'll take it off the air. As far as like the correlation between when it's zone or when we're in the gun, is it zone, under center, gap scheme? Like I say this, I coach in Western Kentucky, and the Tony Franklin system's kind of taken over, like the spread offense. And it seems like predominantly, which I know it's a lot different level of football, predominantly though in the gun, single back stuff, it's always going to be zone. And I was wondering like if we have any tells like that, or is it pretty much mixed up?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Yeah, so they run a lot of inside zone from the gun because they run a lot of RPO with it. So they'll run a lot of inside zone, but they also run a lot of trap, right? Like influence trap. So I don't know. It's a little bit of both, but I would say last week they definitely got back to let's get downhill, let's get man on a man, double teams in the middle of the line. Obviously, the fullback was part of the equation again. Like a lot more of that type of stuff against the Jets, which I think is not a mistake. I think that will probably continue. But in terms of the gun, they have not been a very good gun run team, whether that's because of the backs or because of the blocking or because of both. They haven't really been very productive running the football out of the gun.
Well, the only thing that scares me about Dallas is, if we do have that tail sign that we're in the gun, it's inside zone. Like a lot of stuff we do to try to stop zone, which again, I know it's a lot different, like double on the one technique, a lot of slant, a lot of stunt. And I know Dallas gets pretty creative up front, which would make it hard to get those doubles to backers. Deuce to backer.
Yeah, no, they slant their line a ton. Like that's what Dallas does. They slant their line, so they're trying to knife guys into gaps and get up the field. And so that's what, to combat that, the Cardinals used a lot of misdirection or a lot of pin pull, really, to kind of like fold the line, so invite them up the field and then pull them through. And that was really effective. So I think that this is another week where you want to try to get some gap schemes going, try to get some downhill pullers and things like that, and let them get up the field. Maybe basically invite them. But that guy knows his ball. That was good.
Thanks, Ethan. Yeah.
Back to the Cardinals, and you said they used a lot of pin and pull. I did a little research on that guy. He's from Wellesley.
Oh yeah,
their offensive coordinator. Remember, I was like, "Who's this offensive coordinator?"
There you go.
Dan.
Well, that makes me like him less. But
yeah,
that's
right.
cool.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Danzig.
Needham
Is that
guy.
his name?
Yeah.
Like the band.
Yeah.
Danzig.
So I don't know. It was something like that. Evan looked it up yesterday.
Dan Petzing,
not Danzig.
But yeah,
Petzing, same thing.
He's
from Wellesley.
Their run game is
Went
fun.
to Middlebury.
Cardinals' run game is fun. They do a lot of different things. They gashed him on a zone wind back, which is like one of my favorite plays, and they got him on a lot of different things. They were good.
So I just looked up too, and Fred, you mentioned the home field thing for Dallas, and you're not the first person in this building that has said that to me this week, and I'm just curious, like, what we're basing that on. Like, they've been very good at home lately. I believe they're on an 8-game or a 9-game winning streak at home.
Yeah.
And they're 14-3, like in their last 17 home games.
Yeah.
Like
overall, if you look at their record at AT&T, it's not.
But I'm just talking about the team that's playing right now.
Oh.
Like overall, the Patriots are like 120 games over 500 at Gillette Stadium.
Right.
But this team isn't. This team has had a real hard time winning at home.
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't, like Tom Brady never lost at Gillette Stadium, but Mac Jones is having a hard time winning here.
That's true.
So the current team for the Cowboys is like on a 9-game winning streak at home.
Okay.
Don't you think that stuff is always just like luck of the draw of who you're playing? Like other than the divisional games,
it certainly can be.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously, if you look at it over like the course of 5-10 years, maybe that's different. But
like last year, they beat Cincinnati at home.
Right.
And again, luck of the draw. They caught them early.
Yeah.
Before they had gotten their footing.
Last time Patriots were there, they beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, Dion Lewis, right?
Dion Lewis game, right?
Correct, but that's my point.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Who played quarterback for Dallas?
Antonio Romo?
It wasn't
No?
Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Because that would be the starter. You see, and the starter generally gets hurt.
Right.
Wait, 8 years? Isn't that like 8 years ago now?
Yeah,
that was a long time ago now.
They did not have their starting quarterback in that game.
Oh, I was like, well, Dak was like in like middle school or something, so I was just.
I mean, I don't know if it was Romo hurt. Romo must have been hurt because he didn't play.
Matt in Framingham writes in, with all due respect to Evan Lazar, belittling the Cowboys' offense is like picking on a kid with zits on his face. The Cowboys 2 years ago scored 34 points and threw for more than 500 yards.
Yes, it's a different offensive coordinator. That's my point.
And this Patriots offense in 2023 works just as well as the train services in Boston. Stay on planet Earth, Evan.
It's a different offensive coordinator. I said that at the beginning of the take.
You know what I hate?
Like, people
don't listen.
Yeah, like Kellen Moore is not there anymore. Kellen Moore, as Mike McCarthy told you, wants to light up the scoreboard. Yeah. He's a former quarterback. He's 35 years old.
And by the way, the worst outing that the Chargers have had is 28.
He's a spread gun. Let's rip it and grip it and rip it. Offensive coordinator. Now they like to run the ball, and they're not as good.
That would have been Brandon Weeden, for those of you wondering.
Oh. Who was like 27 when he got drafted?
Yes. Threw for 187 yards and a pick.
Whatever happened to, I like, this is like just popped into my head. What happened to their tight end that they had that was pretty good?
Dalton
Schultz.
Houston.
Where'd he go? I didn't even realize.
Signed as
Lost
free
track
agent.
of that one.
They have Jake Ferguson, who they like.
Mari Cooper, too. They had him
better.
then. Yeah, he was good.
Back in that game?
In our game. In the 19 game. Or 21, sorry.
Oh, in the 21 game. Oh, yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
Cooper,
like,
Schultz.
They don't have.
CD was a rookie, I think.
Like Michael Gallup is, because Brandon Cooks has been hurt, like in and out of the lineup. He's probably going to play on Sunday, but I don't think he's really like.
Do some climbing.
But he's like a secondary guy. He's like the third or fourth receiver.
But I don't think he's really found his footing in Dallas yet either. So Gallup will, once a game, he'll have a great, like, Devontae Parker sideline contested grab, right? But he's not really a consistent guy either. So outside of Lamb, like, they are kind of searching for some secondary receiver options.
This is on Dak, because if he does that and he just says, I'm just going to make sure that I do CD Lamb, then that's not going to work well for them. That's not a good formula against the Patriots. But, Gallup had 7 for 92 the other day. I think if he does a little of that, that's where you make your hay against the Patriots.
Yeah, well, so the matchup, along with Kellen Moore changing, they had Cooper and they had Lamb. So the Patriots doubled Cooper, and I think they put Gilmore on Cooper, if I remember correctly, in that game. And
I know that Jalen Mills was covering
and
CeeDee
Jalen
Lamb
Mills,
on the overtime game.
Right,
winner.
Jalen Mills, single coverage on CeeDee Lamb the entire game and was beaten like a drum. So it's a different offense than it was in 2021. Different coordinator, different personnel.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's still
mindset.
Yeah, I know it's still Dak, but
it's the mindset.
It's different.
Junior from Canton, is it just me, or have our tackles this year thoroughly outplayed our interior line? If so, that doesn't seem ideal, considering the interior is the only part of the line Bill seems to take seriously. On a positive note, Christian Gonzalez continues to impress. Not sure what the route is called, but when Garrett Wilson faked a slant near the goal line and broke out, Gonzo barely flinched and stuck with him the whole play without touching him. I can't remember any corner we've had since Rivas who makes that play without holding a little. It's hard to believe that this was only his third game.
Crack that whip.
Steph Gilmore. But the tackles haven't been any better. I mean, Trent Brown was really good on Sunday, but the tackles haven't been consistently better. Like that,
Anderson,
Trent
Brown.
Trent Brown. What was your stats for the right tackle last week?
8
hurries.
The Ocho.
It's actually 6 hurries and 2 quarterback hits.
I do.
So 8 pressures.
Yeah. I do really wonder though about
pressures.
Strange. Like, what was that related to?
Yeah, well, that's
and is it going to linger?
Fair.
Is this the kind of thing? I was kind of pissed too because I
like when Mike gets pissed.
I was I wasn't pissed. I was frustrated because I heard a tease on Felger and Mass yesterday.
Let me pull back on that a little bit.
I heard a tease on Felger and Mass with like the one player that Greg Bedard thinks should be benched, and I was like, ooh, I want to hear who this was, and I missed it. So I was like,
Cole Strange.
Was it? Okay, that's what I thought it might be. That's what I thought it might be.
Good tease.
We're teetering.
Good big market tease right there, because I normally, as you know, don't care. But when they said that, I was like, ooh, I was interested in that too.
Well, it's I mean, it's I don't really need confirmation of what I see. Like, I've done this long enough that I have confidence in it. But it's always, you see the game, I think, certain ways, and that's like, you come away from watching it again, and that's like the one thing is like, God damn, friggin' Cole Strange is struggling.
Yeah.
And
I thought David Andrews on him today was kind of telling.
Oh, yeah.
He's worked really hard.
And yesterday they had, and Clem talked a little bit about him of, there's one thing about practicing, but there's another about like playing and getting into game shape.
Those are all excuses.
Yeah, they're kind of laying they're laying that groundwork. So I wonder if he's gonna, if they're gonna say, hey, let's sit him down and let him get healthy. I really hope it's not just like, you're okay, but we just can't play you right now. That would be really.
I just don't know where he plays on the line. Like
center.
I think center.
That's what Greg's
is always said.
That was a possibility.
That's the only other place you could go, right? I mean, there's nowhere else to go. No one
I
goes
could just
from guard to
imagine
tackle.
Greg and Evan in a room together talking about the base. And he's a little too tall. Like, he's got a higher base. His strength is like in his midsection.
That punch
for guard. He's a little bit too
grip strength.
Grip strength. His anchor is his problem.
Anchor. You guys watch it.
I don't want to get into like
you and Greg say it the same. You say the same thing. You use different words, but you both exactly lockstep.
So I read Greg on his like breakdown of the game or whatever, and I agreed 100% with everything he said about Cole Strange, and he said that Mafi at least is going to get pushed back into the pocket.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he can't move, but at least he's not going to be
he's got size,
right?
He might not be athletic enough, I think, is the
but
way
at least he's not going to get just blown.
He more
walked back into the
profile
right,
guard.
right.
Walked
like
right into Mac
at least
Jones's lap.
He's going to be sturdy when somebody tries to power through
he looks
him.
like a mailbox.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Cole is, like, if you've got a strength disadvantage to begin with and a bad knee.
Oh, yeah.
That's
and you
a
can't,
bad
how do you
combination.
anchor against.
But his problem is pad level. Like, he plays too high for a guard.
Yeah.
Guards, they got to sit down. Like, you got to have really good flexibility to be able to bend and sit down in your chair and, like, and absorb contact. And he plays too tall in his stance. And so he's just on skates whenever guys get into his body, and he can't drop his anchor. And center is probably like the best for his body type, is probably the best spot. Like, he has technically the measurables to play tackle, but you can't really make that. That's a huge transition. And that's like more of an off-season thing.
He said that yesterday too. Like you wouldn't be able to do it during the season, but down the road and maybe next year,
Can you catch?
David Andrews.
He's going to be playing defense.
I mean, Jake Andrews hasn't been overly impressive.
This is
first down.
Cole Strange's situation is getting dicey. Like when we don't really throw the word bust around here too often. We try not to. I feel like, but that we're trending towards a position where it's like, for the betterment of the team, like they might need to roll with.
We don't throw that word out when they're still on the team. N'Keal Harry, no problem. No problem. Bust.
Mafi might be the better player for this team. It's and I'm not saying that Cole Strange is not going to have an NFL future or anything like that, but for their issues and like what they need to shore up, like he might be the better option for this football team.
All right. Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots, and Bridgestone tires are now on sale through September 30th at all Sullivan Tire locations. Visit sullivantire.com for a location near you. Paul's Foods here. His 18-incher just arrived. So we'll be
Fred's Pizza.
We'll be right back after this.
Get in on the action with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots. New customers can download the DraftKings app now and play free for millions in prizes using code PATS. That's code PATS only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
And we are back with the show within a show, also known as the PU Halftime Show. I am joined by Faith Worrell. She's been on the show before.
Yes, I was on the first episode and then booted off until now.
Yeah,
we're back.
I told you you'd be back. All right, we're going to start with some trivia for a Patriots Unfiltered t-shirt. Faith, don't answer the questions. Ready?
Not.
Question 1. In 2000, Tom Brady was the 4th quarterback on the New England Patriots depth chart. Can you name the quarterback just ahead of him at number 3?
Good question.
Were you even alive then?
I was born in 2000, sir. Yes,
Question 2. A linebacker out of Notre Dame who was part of the Boston Patriots from 1962 to 1968 until he was traded to Miami for the 1969 season. Which player was this? That sound better? I worded that a little better at the end.
Sounded great.
All right, question 3. Who was the Patriots' first overall pick of the 1982 NFL Draft?
Were you alive then?
Oh, I was not. I know some people think I might have been, but I was not. All right, let's get into it. Faith is our communications service, our digital services coordinator.
Yes.
And she also does some part-time work for New England's other football team, the Boston Renegades.
Yes.
And what's your role with them exactly?
I'm their director of content.
There you
so
go.
I'm in charge of everything.
There you go. And in her free time, she got inspired with this role to start her own podcast called The Playmaker's Perspective. So we're going to talk about a show within a show in the show within a show.
Absolutely.
So Faith, tell me about it. What's this about? When did you start it?
Yes. So honestly, I was inspired by Unfiltered. I used to help Matt in the booth with the audio. And so just kind of sitting and listening to everybody talk about the NFL, talk about the Patriots, was kind of inspiring to me. And I just know through the Boston Renegades and women in my network in general that a lot of women would want a seat at a table like this to talk about the league, to talk about the NFL. And so, yeah, the idea kind of came from that, just wanting to kind of make that table for women around football to kind of talk about the game. Our mission statement is just to give women, football players, and others involved in the game an outlet to share their thoughts on the NFL through their unique perspective as players and women around football. Our little tagline is live the game, talk the game, elevate the game. But yeah, we started right before the season kind of got going. We did like a preview episode. I do it with a running back on the Boston Renegades, Katie Falkowski. She's amazing. She is awesome at what she does on the football field and off the field. She's just a super amazing personality, and she's brought so much energy to the podcast. So we did like a little preview of like who we are, what our goal was, then did like a preseason recap, and then we've been rolling once a week. We post on Wednesdays.
There you go. And it's on Spotify and Apple, so this is easily accessible.
Yes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we're on Instagram.
There you go. So follow that. You also get a bunch of Renegades players to join the podcast, right? You got the quarterback. I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yes. So far we've gotten Erica Adams. She's a defensive back on the Renegades, and Ash Beckham, who is an offensive lineman on the Boston Renegades. We do have a lot of other players lined up. We're hoping to get women also that aren't just football players, but sports reporters, coaches, scouts, like anyone that's involved in football. We want to have on the podcast. But hoping to get lots of Renegades players on there.
And I don't want to disrespect, how many consecutive championships has it been for them?
So they just won their fifth straight.
Fifth
straight.
Okay, guys, yes. It's a fun league. Check it out. Patriots have done a lot of collabs with them, and as I know, you guys started the podcast mostly doing Renegade stuff, and now it's going towards more NFL content because it's the off season for the Renegades, correct?
Yes, so it's the off season for the Renegades, so we are 100% NFL. Our segments include things like league roundup, just kind of news that's happening in the league. We do predictions every week. I actually do a Gotta Have Faith prediction.
Don't worry, we have that coming for the end of this little segment.
Oh, good. And so we kind of talk about how we did the previous week, but also, what game made us stop and watch this week, a playmaker of the week, and then I do a little photographer's perspective on just some content around the league. I talked a lot about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce this past week.
It's all the hot topic around every outlet.
Of course. But, so we are fully NFL podcast right now. As the off-season comes and the Renegade season actually starts up, we probably will transition a little bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I mean, that's always fun. So, Faith.
Yes.
What are your predictions for the Thursday night game and the Pats game?
Okay.
And what's your tag again? What is it?
Gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith. The Gotta Have Faith picks for the Thursday night game and the Pats game.
So for the Pats game, I picked the Patriots 23 to Cowboys 20.
Okay, close one.
So the whole point of the Gotta Have Faith is basically the only thing that's really riding on it is you gotta have faith. You really gotta just believe that something can work out here, even though it probably won't. I'm currently 1 for 2. I did pick the Lions beating the Chiefs.
You did. I was there when you picked that.
Yes, that was the one that I got right. But that's my prediction. I feel like the Patriots can pull it out. I really do.
And who you got for Packers Lions? I think that's the game.
I was literally kind of looking it up to make sure.
I'm 98% sure.
Okay.
Packers Lions this Thursday.
You know what? I'm still high on the Lions. I feel like they're going to pull it off.
Okay. They've had a couple close games.
They have. And I feel like, they're kind of hitting their stride. It is Packers-Lions to confirm, but I think they'll pull it off.
Okay. So, what else can we talk about? We got who's your dream guest for the show?
Dream guest. Oh, my gosh. That's a great question. Well, the quarterback for the Boston Renegades, Allison Cahill, definitely excited to have her on.
She's a baller.
She is the Tom Brady of women's professional football. Tom Brady's actually the Allison Cahill of men's professional football. But very excited to have her on in the future. She is a personal trainer. She's a trainer in her day-to-day job, and so she's super busy, but we'll definitely have her on. If I was shooting for the moon, the president of the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, she's an absolute queen. I've met her when we went out to Vegas last year, and she's just amazing. So having her on would be awesome.
We got to get some connections to get her
I
on
know. We'll see. We're just starting. We're just getting rolling.
And we got to get Deuce on it too, obviously.
Of course. Yeah. We'll have you on there too.
I'm down. I don't know if I have a fun tagline like "Keep the Faith" though for my prediction.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So Faith, thank you for joining. Playmaker's Perspective available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yes, and at Playmaker's Perspective on Instagram.
So guys, give that a follow. Give it a listen to, and send your trivia answers into webradio@patriots.com for a chance to win the Patriots Unfiltered t-shirt. We got to get rid of them so we can get some new updated ones.
Yes.
All right, let's get back to the show.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx, and with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
He said that there's an episode of Breaking Bad, which I know you were a big fan of.
Yeah.
Which had a cork sniffing incident in it, and they were scolding you for not remembering that fact. And you conveniently didn't read their email when they wrote into the show about it.
So we're sourcing. Our source now is a fictional television.
No, I'm saying that you don't play both sides. You don't play it fairly here. The guy writes in offering alternative evidence, and you refuse to read it.
Again, your evidence is a fictional television show.
That's not my evidence. I'm just saying.
It is.
I'm sticking up
You
for
just used it, Mr. Brown Cable.
I'm not using it as evidence. I'm saying I'm sticking up for the guy who wrote in and was saying that you should have remembered that.
Maybe I should have. I don't know. There was like 9 seasons, so I don't know.
Oh,
but all I know is that it's settled law now.
No, it's not.
Court
No,
sniffing.
it's
I was thinking that you should change your fundraiser from a wine tasting to an ass tasting.
Wow, that was a mic drop right there. That was rude.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 at web radio at patriots.com is the email address. We gave away some T-shirts during the halftime show.
I love the trivia questions.
Yeah, well, we're going to read them. In 2000, Tom Brady was the 4th quarterback on the New England Patriots depth chart. Can you name the quarterback just ahead of him at number 3?
Michael Bishop.
That's correct. And the winner was Mike in, I think, South Brunswick, New Jersey.
Did Michael Bishop answer?
He wrote SBNJ.
Did Michael Bishop answer his own question? He said his name was Mike.
Yeah, could be.
Oh, wow.
A linebacker out of Notre Dame. Which player was part of the Boston Patriots 1962-68 until traded to Miami for the 1969 season?
My guess is it's Nick Bonacani.
And your guess is correct.
But I would
loved him on Inside the NFL.
When it was Ernest Chavez.
Way before my time.
When it was what? Oh, the winner was.
The winner. Winner. Chicken dinner.
Good job.
Finally, who was the Patriots' first overall pick of the 1982 NFL Draft?
Paul.
Also before my time.
Kenneth Sims.
Kenneth Sims is correct.
Nice.
Ryan Dobson got that one right. Okay.
Good job, Ryan.
Getting rid of some of those
How's
T-shirts.
Aaron?
They're all XLs.
Good stuff.
You're getting an XL. By the way, speaking of Inside the NFL, have you guys watched that at all? It's on, is it the UPN? What do they call that, 13 now? Is it UPN? I don't even remember.
The CW.
The CW. Which one is it? Man, has that show gone downhill? Like, that was my favorite show growing up when it was on HBO.
That's all there was, though.
Right. But you had, like, the NFL Films package. You had the highlights of every game. And then I'm watching it last night, and I'm like, it's Chris Long, Channing Crowder. They got the old safety from the Steelers is the host, but just no chemistry.
Polamalu?
They've all got was it? He's on ESPN all the time.
Ryan Clark.
Ryan Clark.
Yeah.
Ryan Clark.
That ain't Ryan.
And there was one other guy, but they just had no chemistry. They're all kind of dressed like in their own separate, specific ways, and I was just like, this is not what I remember growing up. This should be my favorite show, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
That was a good show.
Loved it. Every week
Len,
that was
Len
like
Dawson, Nick Bonacani.
Yeah.
Nothing's as good as it used to be.
no.
Yeah, I'm just
Well, back then there weren't a lot of alternatives. If you wanted like a highlight package show, that was it.
It was that and Berman on Sunday night. You know, you'd watch Chris Berman.
The original prime time was excellent with Berman and Jackson.
I still love hearing him on the TV. Like, you know, when you just randomly get, I love it. It just brings me back to my youth. Like anytime I can watch him doing his little highlights. I think Monday night before football, he gets a little segment now.
He enjoyed it, and you could tell.
Yeah, it brings some personality to it.
That's why, like, when Romo first started, I thought he was a breath of fresh air because, like, he seemed like he was having fun and he was really into it. And now it doesn't seem that way.
I thought he was decent the other day.
I didn't listen to, obviously we were at the game, so I didn't hear the whole thing. But some of his, like, the things that he says, I don't know. I'm not, like, he blamed, like, the underthrow on Pop Douglas. He was like, Pop Douglas ran the wrong route.
Well, there was question on that. That's why I asked you that yesterday. He was wondering if he was where Mac thought he was going to be.
But like if you're Romo and you're watching that play live, and he has the telestrator thing next to him that shows him the all 22 like instantly. I just don't know how you could watch that play and be like he ran, like, because I had all these people in my mentions, like I watched it live and we watched it from the press box, and I was like, I mean, Pop Douglas is like a couple yards behind the defender, and he
clearly was,
and he underthrows the ball. I don't know what, and everybody, he ran the wrong route because like Romo said that he ran the wrong route on TV. And I was like,
I thought some of the things he said more so on Zach Wilson though, like A lot of times those guys just go out there and they just tell you how hard it is and, give them a break. And he wasn't. He was like, these are just average routine plays that any NFL player should be able to make. And he can't make them. He refuses to go to the ball, look at the coverage and do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
He was pretty critical.
I almost felt bad.
Oh, I felt bad.
It was hard to listen to.
I felt bad for Zach Wilson
Yeah.
at points in the game because he was so overmatched. He
just doesn't have a chance.
I mean, it's all his own fault. But
Deep has some gripes with us.
Deep.
He's from Seattle. Says he loves the show. After moving to the U.S. from India 25 years ago, I've moved around a lot, and your show has given me a certain sense of centering and belonging during that time. So thank you. You're the absolute best. That said, your insane Bill bashing over the last year has become tedious. That and giving Mac Jones a pass at most times. Paul is the only exception, albeit partially. 20 to 32 teams have O-line gaps. 32 out of 32 teams have injuries. Less than 10 teams feel absolutely great about all their weapons. However, the better teams with above-average quarterbacks win despite gaps and injuries and weaknesses in position groups. I am not talking about the elite quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks ranked 8 to 16 can be effective with weaknesses around them. The main problem is that Mac Jones is a bottom 10 quarterback, and you all keep grading him in an ever lower curve every week. Mac, okay against the Jets? Really? With a 50% completion record? Please, for the love of all things good in life, take your collective heads out of the you-know-where and stop insulting your listeners' intelligence. The team's woes are 60% attributed to Mac, 15% to coaching, and 25% to player skills. Also, Evan, a couple of timid observations for you. One, it's okay to critique Bill, but maybe have some self-awareness before you go on a 10-minute tirade on teaching him how to scheme.
I knew this was coming.
And two, this isn't the antebellum South or the British Raj. You don't have to add Mr. every time you mention the owner. Just Robert or Kraft will suffice.
Hey, man, he's the one that signs the checks.
What do you call your boss?
I'm as respectful to that man
RKK,
as I possibly
that's
can
what his
be.
friends
I
call
don't
him.
ever hear you calling Bill Mr. Belichick. All that said, you are all greatly contribute to my sanity among everything else that is going on in life. Keep up the good work.
Oh, but keep up the good work after that entire email. What's his name? I forgot his name. Deep. I'm going to invite you to watch some film with me of Mac Jones whenever you want. This is an open invitation. And we can break down the film together, and let's see if your opinion on him changes in terms of what's more at fault about the offense.
I think you did a great job, Deep. Good email.
I'm dead serious. Like I'm not trying to come at him or anything.
No, I will say this about that email. I thought it was going to go in a much different direction than it did.
Yeah.
But listen, the Bill stuff, we get it. Can we put a new disclaimer at the beginning of the show? We understand that we've won 6 Super Bowls and had more success than any of us would have ever dreamed of, and we all widely consider Bill Belichick to be the greatest coach of all time. But at the same time, you want us to criticize the quarterback, but you don't let us criticize the coach. I get it. One has a much better resume than the other, but they all should be allowed to be criticized, right?
I don't know. I feel our conversations on Mac have been fair, and I feel like we don't go overboard when he plays something bad. I think we all agree he's an average quarterback, so there's going to be bad stuff and there's going to be good stuff. He's average. But he thinks he stinks.
Deep thinks he's a below average quarterback. We all feel like
he thinks he's a bottom 10 quarterback.
That's his opinion, and that's great. Yeah. For us, that this is our job, and we watch him all the time, all through the year. That's my opinion, that he's an average quarterback and that he's not really bringing them down. He's also not raising them right now.
Ultimately, Deep could be right. We just don't know. I think it's fair to say the jury's still out on Mac Jones.
I also think it's fair to say, not sorry to cut you off, with Bill, how many more years do we have to give it before we can critique him, right?
No, I think we're coming to the...
Yeah. It's been 5 years since they won the Super Bowl in 2018. At some point we have to, and this really started in 19 with Bill. In the offense and the lack of weapons and the lack of support around the quarterback. It's why the quarterback you had, one of the reasons why he left. And I would also just say, like, no, I don't. Everybody knows I don't know more than Bill Belichick about football, myself included, especially. But the point is I don't really think his track record with offensive football is all that great. Outside of Brady, like, I don't think that his track record with it is all that great. I don't
personally. That's the parts that, like, I don't ever feel comfortable, like, saying, well, how could you set up that play X's and O's wise? Like, what about? No, I mean, I've never been in that situation, but I do feel comfortable sort of opining on whether or not I feel the way he sets up a team or tries to build the team is best in this day and age. And that's where I would question some of the stuff. Evan just said, his offensive football. I think he still thinks what he's doing, I think he's thrilled with a win like Sunday. I look at a win like Sunday and said, you can't do that 13 times. You might be able to do that 3 times.
He said that after the game. Yeah. He said we're not going to win very many games scoring
with 15. I know. He says it, but I don't think he believes it. What he doesn't show you that he believes that.
What was Deep's breakdown? I mean, is it Mac was 50%, Bill was 15?
Mac is 65%.
I'd love to see that pie chart.
65, and
I didn't even add it up. Alex, you're quick with these things. Did it actually add up to 100? Because I'm famous. I'm famous for having pie charts that don't equal 100 when I'm done.
Skill of players was a big chunk too.
See that stuck out to me. He mentioned the skill of play, and by the way,
25% was talent.
But I want to reiterate,
15% was coaching.
Can I reiterate that I really liked that email? I tend to like the emails that are critical of us more than anything else, as long as they're fair. Like the one that criticized Evan before for suggesting that the Cowboys have never been good on offense, which is not what he said. But the skill of the players, to me, is Bill.
Yeah.
He separated those two. Bill was like 10%. The skill of the players was 25. Bill acquires the players. That's all part of Bill.
And then rolls them out there.
Yeah.
And that's where I would I don't criticize Bill because of his game plan on Sunday or what he did on defense. No. I criticize Bill because there are opportunities to improve the things that we think need to be improved, and he doesn't do it.
Yeah. And I won't even venture to say what his philosophy is about team building because, look, they took a wide receiver in the first round. They took a running back in the first round. They've taken a tackle in the first round. All of these things they've done, which had they hit, they'd be in a different place right now. But we can't sit here and talk about Cole Strange having a terrible start to year 2, whether it's because of injuries or whatever, and not say, why did we draft a guard in the first round when our offense is so
Could you imagine
below par?
If Bill was as good a personnel guy as he was a coach? They'd never lose.
But that's 2007. Like when he actually had more talent than everybody else, they were 30 seconds from going undefeated. That's how good a coach he is.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the disconnect is. Why do they have to be different? Why can you sit there and look at a player and you've seen a million different NFL players over the course of your career, you've studied them, you know everything there is content to know about every position, and then the misses have just been so consistently bad, and that's really all it is for me with my criticism of Bill is that the drafts have not been good enough, and that's why you are where you are. You have not developed any star players in the last 4 years, and you're still sitting kind of in neutral because you don't have players that can change the game. You got a couple, Judon, you found little bits and pieces, but they haven't found the next Gronk. They haven't found, the next Nate Solder for that matter. Just a solid tackle who's going to be out there, doesn't need to be a world beater. And that's it. That's everything for me.
And the players that he has found offensively like that, generational players, it's obviously 199th overall. Gronk, who everybody in the league would have loved to have had, he never would have been around in the second round if he didn't have the back problems coming out. Welker, diamond in the rough. Edelman, diamond in the rough. And I give him credit for development in that regard and identifying skills that translate to what he wants to do. I give him 1,000% credit for that. But
don't forget Steve Neal.
When you draft N'Keal Harry, that's a little bit different. There's stakes involved there. If Julian Edelman, there are way more guys that you've long since forgotten about that he tried to make out of Julian Edelman.
Yeah, we know that. Yep.
Okay, I don't have to give you I love to give you the rundown.
They're good. They're always good.
I won't do it. But there's no pressure there. There's no stakes involved. There's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, if this doesn't work, it's not. You know, it's an undrafted free agent. It's a 6th or 7th round pick. Doesn't matter. But if you miss on N'Keal Harry, it matters.
Yeah.
Exactly the reason why you just said, Mike.
It sets you back.
You should have a tackle that is part of your core. You should have a running back who's part of your core. You should have a wide receiver that's part of your core, and you should have a guard now that's part of your core. And I'm not sure you have any of them.
Ramon in Tampa, I really appreciate the format of PU. You talk about all the topics, hot through sleepers. You have a large panel, but everyone speaks when they want to, and everyone speaks during the show. You also don't repeat. You also don't repeat or drag out maybe a little topics, which I love. I love listening for those reasons. My question is, why are talk radio shows set up the way they are and not more like PU? I hate how they all clamor to talk, repeat the same topic each hour, and pretty much have the same agenda every day. Am I in the minority that find their format frustrating? We're in a podcast era. We don't need the hot topics repeated when we can play them on demand.
I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I
mean,
I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts, so I'm not really sure. You know, I mean, I listen to radio shows, but I don't know. I don't really
the
know.
radio shows that he's talking about are designed for basically people who are only listening for 20 minutes.
Right. I was going to say that's why they repeat a lot of
commercial.
They repeat a lot of topics. They also have to take a lot of commercial breaks that we don't. We take one in the middle of the show, much to Hardy's dismay. But they, you know, if they talk about something from 2 to 3, the people that are in the car from 5 to 6 are not the same people.
Yeah.
So that's why they sort of reset. And Felger says that all the time. You know, just reset. You know, and it is a lot. If you happen to listen to the whole show, it's a lot of repetition. And I get your point because you're listening on a podcast, so you hear whatever you want to hear. You know, and you know, playing back. But people are listening live. So they're kind of replaying the hits, so to speak.
And you got to get the sound bites. You got to do all that. A lot of people take themselves too seriously too. Not necessarily like local radio, but other
that's
podcasts.
one thing Felger and Mads have never been accused of, taking themselves
Not
too
them.
seriously.
But
there are like
a
there are
lot
examples
of a lot
that.
of like the beat writer podcasts. Like, okay,
Yeah. That's like kind of
Okay,
like
guys.
they have to do it too.
That's why Alex and I get along so well.
But how many podcasts too are about one team? You know, I mean, like Alex said, yeah, the beat writers, but this is like you guys have been doing this for 4 years now. Like you guys have the
You guys have
chemistry
your
that goes
10,000
back.
hours.
I'm going on
the Malcolm
50.
Gladwell 10,000 hours.
But I
You
mean,
got
working
it.
together.
Still working on it though.
You know, like I don't know what this show would be without, you know, you guys and your relationship as kind of the anchor and, you know, your silly fights that you get into. And, you know, like that's just something that you can't, hey, here's the 2 new Boston Herald writers for the Patriots. They got a new podcast.
We
like,
got to step that up.
you know?
We've stepped away from that a little bit lately. Have you noticed that?
Well, I mean,
Batlin?
you know, back in the day when I thought the team was pretty good with Brady, you guys didn't, so we fought.
So
Also,
can you
Evans
extrapolate from that you don't think the team's very good now?
But I also think it's fun too that like, you know, when Andy comes back in and, you know, there's listeners who remember him and it's, you know, it's almost like a sitcom where a character comes back into the show.
Absolutely
and,
what,
you know,
that's absolutely what we
it's,
did.
It's
And,
the Kramer clap.
You know, love him, hate him, whatever. Glenn Ordway, okay? When he first asked me to be on the Big Show 100 years ago, and that's exactly what he used to talk about. He goes, every day's a different episode. And, you know, you're going to find whatever your personality is going to get accentuated, and then we're going to explode it to something much bigger than it is, and you're going to play a character. You're going to play a role.
Like hating Brady.
And he said, I never want you to ever say something or do something that you don't believe.
Yeah.
But we're going to accentuate your quirks, and that's going to be a big thing. And I think that that's right about this in general. You know, and obviously Mike and Tony are the 2 psychopaths that find fault in everything, right? I know them both pretty well away from the radio, and especially Tony is really nothing like his on-air personality. Nothing like it. It just sort of gets blown out.
Does he get squeaky and raspy like just in his
well,
free
yeah,
time?
the voice is real.
Yeah.
The voice is real.
That's not a shtick.
Chris in Colorado, I'm not sure about your other emailer, but where do we sign up to watch film with Evan?
I think we should auction
Yeah,
a little
that could be
pack,
something. Patriots
donation
Premier.
Auction
to
it or
the Patriots
force it
Foundation.
upon
and
Where do
Yeah,
I
if
send
you
a
lose,
check?
you have to watch film with that.
Where do I send a check to not have to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
The Patriots
That's what the
Foundation.
loser
Fred,
gets.
Fred and I will do that.
I'd also like to recommend watching J.T. O'Sullivan's breakdown of Mac against the Jets on the QB School. This is the most objective show out there, except Paul Snark, Deuce's negativity, and Fred's homerism. Kidding, you guys are great.
That's another great email.
Yeah, the JT thing was great. It was really focusing on those.
For the 32nd start in a row, Mac was better than most people thought.
Well, he broke down those third down throws, and
we got to get to the point where everybody
all 15
thinks he's
passes
good.
that he completed.
Instead of like, oh, here's a stat that. He's as good as Aaron Rodgers is,
Yeah, I would say the most interesting thing to me, though, was he broke down the incompletion of Juju up the sideline. I'm not sure if that was the first or third down at the end, but it was really, for him, more credit to the Jets for really just playing it really well, not really leaving them anywhere else
That was
to
the
go.
disguised coverage. They
Where-
showed one and it jumped into the
Juju
second.
kind of did a flare out, so I look, anytime someone wants to do one of those things, I'll watch it. And, JT O'Sullivan's been doing a great job.
Franklin in Baltimore has a response to Deep.
Oh, boy.
I'm not the biggest fan of Mac myself, but I honestly don't know how any fan can look at the pass catchers, see them game in and game out, be bereft of talent, and yet put the onus on Mac as if he was the one who personally picked those players. If you believe that Bill, the GM, the person who constructed the offensive roster, is above reproach, then just say it. The rest of us, however, don't view Bill's mishandling of the wide receivers as bashing, but rather a legitimate criticism of his possibly outdated perspective toward the position.
It's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like we bash anybody with the Patriots. Do you?
No. Andrew in Louisiana.
afraid.
So Mac is 65% to blame? I remember when Bill used to get credit for coaching players up and developing talent. Interesting, when the player's not playing up to expectation, it's all the player's fault. Sounds like the separate categories.
I told you that was a good email.
Deep mentioned all come back to Teflon Bill.
Yeah.
I told you that
inspire more emails.
The email that Deep sent, that's how you know it's good, because you get people that come back and they weigh in either to support or to combat.
You know what keeps playing in my head? It was something that Bill said. I think it was at the end of last year when we were in that phase of like, can you just admit Mac's the starter or not? And he said, Mac can play in this league. And I still just like, that's what I feel too. Like, he can play in this league. I just don't know if he can put it all together and be like a really good winning quarterback. But he can play.
I'm waiting
the
to
position.
see a consistent level where I say something happened today because of Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember sitting in the training camp show last year and saying that this is the year we're going to find out if Mac is a quarterback that can win you a game or if he is a quarterback that loses you a game. And he's still in like Kirk Cousins, like
I don't have very
purgatory, right down the middle.
And you guys know I'm a little probably more critical of Mac than you guys are. But I don't have a laundry list of games where I said they lost that game because of Mac.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that they've lost any maybe because of Mac. But I don't have any that they won because of him either.
Yeah.
And I think
that's
that
it.
sort of puts you in
Quarterback purgatory.
Yeah, like I think that the Cincinnati Bengals with Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton had a lot of talent. And Dalton played well at times the first 3 or 4 years of his career. They won a couple of divisions. They went to the playoffs 3 or 4 years in a row, and they couldn't win when they got there because the quarterback was just sort of along for the ride. He wasn't terrible. Andy Dalton in Cincinnati wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good enough either. And I hope that this guy's better than that.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Guess what we'll see now? Evan's back.
Evan has returned from practice. Evan has returned from practice. Yeah, Evan has returned from practice. What was the mood? Who wasn't there? What did he see?
All right, Evan, the floor is yours.
I'm taking the Patriots. Devon Godshaw at practice on Wednesday.
So it's lock it in.
Lock it up, baby.
As Hardy would say, Mike.
Lock
it
Lock
up.
it in.
Everybody, perfect attendance for the Patriots. So Cole Strange out there, Devon Godshaw out there, Jonathan Jones out there.
Pads
on Wednesdays.
Okay, well then that's even a bigger, fact that
So
they're out there.
We'll
Yeah.
see. As the head coach likes to say, well, we'll give you the injury report when we need to give you the injury report. So around 4 o'clock, we'll see who participated as much as.
We'll make sure that we get you that.
Whatever. But good news. I
Yeah.
think it looks like Godshot at least avoided a major injury on Sunday.
I'm just hoping this isn't one of those. Yeah, he was there for stretching, but then as soon as stretching was over,
Right,
he was
media goes away.
I think
and
he'll
they
be
go into the-
limited. I think
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
list him as limited.
Yeah.
No doubt. But yeah,
It's a good sign.
I know a lot of people had posted that around the time the Aquale stuff, and then they eventually put Aquale on injury reserve. They said that they felt like he avoided anything major. So
Yeah, and there's a new 94 out there too. So
he'll
see
have
who
a
that
chance.
guy is.
A new
yeah,
94.
he's Manny
Jones?
Pacquiao.
Jones.
Another Jones.
The defensive tackle.
Another Jones.
But
So,
undersized
up with the
defensive
five
tackle.
Upper
Joneses.
fields.
Penetrator.
Upper fields. Been
Yeah.
upper fields the last week or two. Yeah.
Okay.
All last week too.
Usual media contingent.
Grouse.
Yep. Usual media contingent. Always a little bit more numbers on Wednesday because you got the quarterback and you got Bill. So a lot of people come down
Big
on
day.
on
Big day,
Wednesdays.
Freddie. Big
Turn the page to the next opponent, that sort of thing. So nice contingent out there. Weather's still holding up, so no rain.
Thank God.
Just curious, of the usual media contingent, how many are going to Germany?
Oh, I haven't.
Did you take a poll? Little poll.
I haven't taken a poll yet, but I will. I'll get back to you on
Why don't
that.
you get back out there, ask everybody if they're going to Germany?
No, I'll do that.
I think
I'll
Mark
ask-
Daniels is. I
ask
talked to
around.
Mark, and I think he's.
Yeah,
he's going on
they're. I've heard some yeses and some nos already, but not enough to draw.
Because it ain't cheap to get over there.
No.
Just
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't.
flights.
I
Mass
wouldn't.
Live has I feel like 10 people covering the pass.
They do
now.
have a lot. They do have a
so
lot of
many.
It's a
people.
Thunderdome. They're going to make them fight for it.
Right, Karen.
Mark,
Mark,
you would
Chris
imagine would
Mason.
go.
and then all the people that do everything. I don't know what to call those people.
Producers?
But
General
Predators.
assignment.
yeah, general assignment. That's what I'm talking about.
I used to be
Big
one
J.
of those people.
Yeah.
Capital J journalist.
Yeah, I just
Not anymore.
curious.
Yeah.
How was the mood of the team coming off their first win of the year?
Okay. Yeah, they were.
That's not good.
they-
That
That's not good.
sounds.
They were normal. Like I don't
No
think
dancing,
that.
no Kendrick
Yeah, they
Lamar
were.
getting
I'm trying to think of the name of the song that it isn't the lyric that I'm thinking right now because I don't want to say the lyric. But it, there were some dancing and some rapping going on, some sing along going on during
Okay.
stretching.
What is the song?
How's it go?
Smoke weed every day.
Smoke every day.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to be clipped.
The next episode.
Yeah.
Do you think
Next step, yes.
to get ready for the Cowboys, they might go indoors at some point this week?
That's a good question. Maybe Friday if they're gonna pick a day to go inside, just for kicks.
Yeah, just crank up the music.
Usually Fridays would be that day.
Yeah.
From my experience, so possible.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Kyle and Pembroke, in response to Deep, Bill the GM screwed Mac over by letting Myers go and replacing him with Juju. If we had Myers, the Patriots are 2-1, and the M&M connection, Mac and Myers, is heading this team to a playoff berth.
I'm so.
P.S. I'd pay a lot to do film breakdown with Evan.
You should
Yeah,
auction
so you
that
got-
off.
since you've been gone.
Yeah, we're auctioning
Which is
off
another song, by the way.
experiences with you.
Yeah, a lot of people.
They want to
A lot
sign
of
up for
people
the.
interested in the experience.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
well,
gonna
we do
raise some money
the
for
we
the
do the
Pats
audio
Foundation.
breakdowns of Mac every single week. So I take about 20 minutes of Mac film and break it down. So I'm not live, but you can walk it through with
Set
me.
it up. Send
They
out a
won't ask you
Zoom link.
questions.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, WebEx.
I was just gonna say I'm just really
Evan
disappointed.
media availability.
No.
Stacy, can you get
You only
that
have
on
to make the
schedule?
offensive coordinator available every week. I'm just kind of mad at myself for my Jacoby Myers
Me too.
take of the spring. When he left, I'm like, how was I not apoplectic about that?
I try to tell you,
You know?
guys all the time.
I know you were right, Paul.
No,
I know you
no.
were.
That's not what I'm
We
trying
did-
to tell you all the time.
But you know,
Just because I'm crazy
doesn't mean
you know what we
doesn't
should
mean
do?
I'm wrong.
You know,
I
you
like
know,
that. I'm gonna adopt that.
like in politics when the president does the State of the Union,
Yeah.
and then whatever party.
Yeah,
the
that gives
opposite
the
party,
opposite-
they have the
yeah,
rebuttal.
yeah, the rebuttal.
So when Bill O'Brien does his thing, we should have the Evan rebuttal afterwards.
No.
Let me tell you what you did wrong.
But to that point, we actually did have a comment on YouTube. I don't remember who the commenter's name was that called us out on that. And unlike Deep's email, I agree completely with that criticism. I will speak for myself. I don't
Me
want to speak
too.
for you
No,
guys.
I'm with you.
I totally thought Juju was going to be a better option for them than Jacoby Myers. I thought it was going to be an upgrade. And that it's not even just not been an upgrade. It's been a complete disaster kind of so far.
This is one where I think I kind of sided with Myers on that one.
Yeah,
you did. You were with me.
Yeah, because we like Mr. Myers. We wanted him to stay
that
around.
too, and that's
you know what? That might have been part of it too.
That
Maybe
was.
subconsciously I was biased. Yeah, that could be true.
I totally undersold what Paul mentioned yesterday, which I thought was a really good point of just like how much space Kansas City's offense opens up. So that like when he was catching the ball in Kansas City,
it's true.
The
Everyone's
yak
like
is
with
totally
Kelsey
different
down the field.
Right, like the yak setup is so different than like when he catches the ball here and there's a guy on top of him already. In Kansas City, there was all of this open space for him to just run with the football, and that hasn't translated here. You know, he just
And
hasn't.
his only other really good year in the NFL was opposite Antonio Brown at the height of Antonio Brown's powers.
And it's like, and you're just talking about the field stuff, which is completely applicable, but I'm just like, we love Jacoby Myers. He's a receiver that we developed here
That's
as
the
like a
thing,
guy
too.
on the inside who
There's-
made big plays. Like, how do we let him go?
I think there's really something to be said too for like kind of setting a tone of this is an undrafted guy that we developed and now we're rewarding because he's
And it's
been
the same
super
thing,
reliable.
staring
And
him in
what
the
does that
face with
say
Duggar.
to your teammates if you reward a guy like that?
Thought he was a little bit of a malcontent, and he was part of the gang of five, and I don't think they wanted to give him the money. But I think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake, and I also like. I didn't really get the whole thing. If you wanted to bring him in, if you wanted to bring Juju in because you said all the things that were on the pros, right? More yak, more playmaking ability, maybe an ability to make a guy miss, whereas Jacoby didn't have a lot of that in his game, and I agree, he didn't. Why, like, it had to be 1-for-1? That's the part that I really bristled at all offseason. It was Mike Gesicki for Jonnu Smith. It was Juju Smith-Schuster for Jacoby Myers. It was, at the time, James Robinson for Damian Harris. Yep. And I said, okay, yeah, you can make an argument. You can make an argument that in all of those cases you got a little bit better. But really, you're talking about 6 and a half dozen. It's not really much different. And I would say I loved what Jacoby Myers did. I thought that he clearly fit in. Why not bring Juju in addition to that?
Yeah.
That would be investing too much in the offense, Paul.
That's where I got really frustrated. Now, there was a lot of other things I said at the time. We don't have to get back to them now about the yak, and they both averaged 12 a catch. I don't really care how that comes about. It was a 12-yard gain, you know?
I stand by my TikTok boy comments I made back then.
Let's go back to the Ace Ticket Hotline, 855.
I didn't want TikTok, man.
John's in Louisiana. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Got to make a TikTok.
Bayou joke.
I tried calling yesterday, but y'all talked about the Cardinals offense. How was it that offense looks way better than ours? I know Evan likes to talk about the explosive plays, and I know they have more explosive plays than us, but I want to see y'all talk about that a little bit.
You said Cardinals, right?
Yeah, Cardinals.
Yeah, they were feisty. I mean, I don't know. I only watched one game of theirs really closely, so I don't know what the first two games really looked like.
They looked pretty good in the second game against the Giants.
The one thing that really stood out, and we'll see, like, you know, they were playing it in their dome in Arizona. Like, I would like to see what it's like on a fast track for this Patriots offense, but I thought even the Cardinals had a lot more team speed than the Patriots did offensively. You know, when you kind of look at their personnel, like Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore, like they have guys that can run on that team, and that was one thing that I think really stood out to me watching them on film was how fast they were, a lot faster than I thought.
It's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
If you want team speed, get fast players. So what was the quote?
That was the quote.
Draft Taekwon.
If you want to be tough, get tough players.
If you want to have a hot girlfriend, you got to start dating hot girls.
Back next week, week 5, is that right? So he could be back next week.
I think he will be.
Be good.
Let's go to Nate in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Kind of vague.
What's up, Nate?
You crew, how you doing?
Good.
Hey.
I have a quick observation I'm hoping to get your take on. I don't know if it's right or wrong either, so Evan, please feel free to chime in. But over the last 3 games, it's on offensive play calling. Over the last 3 games, I've been pretty satisfied with Bill O'Brien and a lot of the stuff he's schemed up. But I've gotten the vibe that a lot of times on like 2nd or 3rd down and let's just say 6 yards, the pass play goes for like 4 yards or 5 yards. It seems like they're scheming up a lot of stuff that's just short of the sticks. Is it just me, or do you guys see that as well?
Honestly, I thought last week it was the opposite, that they were scheming, especially in the second half. They were great on third down in the first half. They were 6 for 10. The second half, I thought that they were. I mean, there was all the deep balls to Juju and stuff like that they were trying to do on third and medium. I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with play design.
No, Parker passed the sticks on that big one up the left sideline. I mean,
this is totally anecdotal, but I can think of the Tom Brady offense often being predicated on throw short of the sticks and relying on Wes Welker and Julian Edelman to run for the first down. James White, a lot of their third down success is not necessarily throwing it beyond the sticks.
Yeah, Football Outsiders used to track it. They called it Alex after Alex Smith because Alex Smith was always short of the sticks. But RIP to Football Outsiders. They're going through some.
Yikes.
So I don't know if that stat is readily available anymore. But usually the Patriots were actually pretty good about throwing past the sticks relative to the rest of the league. So I don't know what it's at quite right now.
Yeah, maybe I'm still just reeling from last week with the Dolphins and how many times they had to bring the sticks out to measure. But I just didn't see very much yards after contact on some of those short plays. But again, I'm kind of lumping all three games together. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Nate. Eric is in Amherstburg. What's up, Eric?
Bill Township.
Hey, guys. I'm going to make this really quick, but I have a little bit of a bone to pick with Deuce because
finally somebody
you said that there was only, right? So you said that only what wide receiver can make a difference on this offense? It's not just one wide receiver. It's the accumulation from 2018 till now. Sony, Juju, all these Taekwon, all these guys that Bill just can't draft. He's bringing in guys to replace guys like you guys were saying. It's not working out, and it is completely disastrous. And if you want to go just with this offseason, because I'm sick of you guys talking about Gonzo and how great he is. He could be Deion Sanders, and in this day and age, it's nothing. It means nothing. You sign or bring in Zay Flowers, bring in Hopkins. That's one move. Eliminate Gonzo, and does that change your offense? Does that make you more competitive? I think it does. I don't think Gonzo makes the difference on keeping us competitive in these games. Have a great day, guys.
All right, I disagree a little bit. I mean, in terms of scoring a lot of points, obviously, no, you need pass catchers, but I think the defense is what is keeping them competitive right now. Yeah. And he's a big part of the defense.
I would also just say, why not both? He mentioned Hopkins. They could have signed Hopkins and drafted Christian Gonzalez in the first round. So that's the piece of it to me that doesn't really. Yes, you can't have Zay Flowers and Christian Gonzalez. You had to pick one or the other there in the first round. But you could have had Christian Gonzalez and let's say, Josh Downs, who's had a pretty good start in Indianapolis. You could have, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It might not have been Zay Flowers, but it could have been somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why he was calling me out, but my point was more just that they didn't ignore it. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round. It's not like they just are we're never touching a wide receiver. I agree with everything he said.
That was one of those coming at you with things that I've heard you say many times.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. The drafts.
The Gonzalez thing to me is interesting, and I listen. I was on Gonzalez before they drafted him. He was a guy that I identified as one of two or three guys that I really had hoped that they got. So I'm thrilled.
Okay, Mel.
No, I'm thrilled with the way he's playing. I'm not trying to tell you that I didn't want him, because I did.
Yeah.
But I do sort of understand the argument of you're falling short because of you're missing some pieces on offense. So just because you hit on the first round pick doesn't. I'm fine with it. I'm just giving you the devil's advocate side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you lose a couple of games because you couldn't protect your quarterback?
But so
maybe if you took it,
but isn't the gripe about the day 2 picks?
Absolutely, you could go there too.
And Keon White has looked great in flashes, but he doesn't play.
Neither does Mapu.
Right, and neither does. They both play 10 snaps a game.
Right.
So the criticism isn't of Gonzalez. I know you're not saying
can't
that.
state that strongly enough.
Yeah.
The criticism is not of Gonzalez, who I just wrote an ode to for my
and it goes
my
back
notes.
to last
where would
year
we be without him right now?
The second round pick Thornton.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah.
That's the one that really, obviously really kills them, because in their eyes, they're not going to invest another top 50 pick in a receiver because they just did that last year. And that's how they've explained it in the past. When they went In 19, they took N'Keal Harry in the first round, and then in 2020, I think they took Trey Nixon in the 7th. That was maybe that year, but they didn't take a receiver, and everybody was like, how did you not take a receiver? Like that's like it's such a big issue. And his response was, we traded for Sanu and we drafted N'Keal Harry. So we had already invested a first and a second round pick at the receiver position. So we've already used too much capital on receivers. Whereas other teams, I've mentioned Philly in the past, they just kept trying. They just kept drafting them, and it worked out.
Still in Seattle, people that are calling for Mac to be retooled with high-end weapons are forgetting the fact that you have to make this guy the highest-paid player on your franchise's history soon, on top of equipping him with players that have to carry him. That doesn't make sense to me, so I can see how it wouldn't make sense to Robert Kraft and most GMs. Thoughts?
Then you don't want to win. Like you're content with this. I mean, you have to spend money at some point, right?
Yep.
Be a tough decision.
I'm not telling you have to do it to Mac Jones, but I'm saying the guy's right. The email is right. Eventually, soon,
3 years.
Your quarterback is going to be your highest paid player that you've ever had in your team. That's going to happen sooner or later.
3 years.
Okay? Whether it's Mac or somebody else, like at some point that's going to happen. Are you willing to, not necessarily the highest guy, but are you willing to augment that with high-paid guys around him?
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're going to struggle.
I know, and the hard thing too is like watching, some of Dallas's games with the Giants and just watching Daniel Jones and like this is, it's just such a hard thing. Like I get why they did it, but like you don't want to be that team that has to pay the average quarterback with the hope that he's going to suddenly get to a level that you have not seen, and you're paying him for things that you haven't seen yet. You're giving him a top of the team kind of contract.
And I won't kill him if they don't do that for Mac Jones.
That's
for
why
exactly
I think
the reason you said.
That's why I think the 5th-year option is a no-brainer for Mac Jones.
That's only like $20 million.
Yeah,
right?
And so that way there you still have the 5th year of team control, but you're not paying the $40 million. That's the problem. The Giants. That was the mistake the Giants made. The Giants, and granted, it was based off of Daniel Jones' first 2 years in the league, so I understand why they didn't want to pick up the option, but they didn't pick up the option, so then he became a free agent a year earlier, and so then they had no choice but to pay him.
Right. So they only got 4 years of affordability instead of 5.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You should get 5.
Because technically you can pick up the 5th-year option, and then in year 6 you could franchise him. And now you're still kicking the can down the road of giving him the $90 million guaranteed. So...
Rich in New York City, love the show. I think what the caller who criticized the Gonzo pick does not realize is that you need a lockdown corner in this NFL. As Fred said previously a while ago, a lockdown corner opens things up and helps you in this league. That's for sure.
It's one of the three.
They're rare.
Yeah,
they're rare.
The corner, a pass rusher, a receiver, a quarterback. I mean, those are the big four, and left tackle maybe. But they didn't have that guy. And I mean, I don't know what things would look like right now when you got all the Joneses are on the sideline. You had no Gonzalez, so you would have been starting Sean Wade and Miles Bryant last week. Like, I respect that people prefer the receiver, and I understand why. But I think given where Gonzo was supposed to go and where you got him, it was a no-brainer, and it didn't fill a. And I think the point about
it did fill a need.
Hit it in the second round.
That was a big.
Could have hit it in the second round,
but I thought there were linemen and skill position guys to be had that.
But it's just like it's so frustrating because you have a 6th-round pick that is clearly the most athletic receiver you got. What would it look like if instead of Jake Andrews, who God knows when he's ever going to get in the lineup, if you got one of those earlier guys like day 3? That's what it looks like at the 6th round. What would it look like in the 3rd round?
They're talking about the 4th round, DeJuan Jones, right?
Yeah.
He's the 4th rounder.
Well,
they're talking about moving him to the left side now.
Yeah, no, he's a player. I mean,
when what's-his-face got hurt,
right?
Conklin.
He was great at Ohio State, DeJuan Jones. Like, that was an off-the-field, personality trait
but that's
issue.
Second round. I mean, the second or third day.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
That's when you roll the dice on those
Shutters
guys.
in Manchester, UK. I thought Douglas's game looked off a bit last weekend, and I'm just wondering if others thought that too, and if it's from the knock of his confidence after Bill benched him against the Finns. I hope I'm wrong, but that's the feeling I got, and Bill's stubborn ways affected more than one game. And thanks, Deuce, for the Patriots propaganda support.
I don't know. I didn't see enough of him to really make that observation.
I don't know his game well enough to know if he was off last week. Let's put it that way.
I mean, obviously they didn't connect on the deep ball. So if you're going just based off of the targets, I guess like that. But I thought the route that he ran on 3rd down, The Mac made a great throw to throw it, drop it over the first level, and before I thought that was a really good route. I mean, if you watch it, he really does a nice job of pushing vertical up the field to get the safety to have to bail out and then break. Like, he's a dynamic route runner. They got to figure out a way to get him involved while living with the growing pains of a rookie receiver.
My only concerns with him are size. I think he can play. I think he has ability to play.
Can he hold up?
Sulman, what's your assessment been on the linebackers so far? I feel like I haven't heard any of their names stand out. Bentley, Tavai, Wilson, and to an extent Uche seem to have been quiet. But what are all your thoughts?
I think Bentley was bad last week. He was good this week. Tavai has been what he is. And Mac Wilson is barely playing right now. And
do you include Jennings as a linebacker?
Well, for this game, sure.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I'd love to see more of him. I don't know how much he can really move the needle, on passing downs.
Game plan. Like, Bentley and Tavai struggled against Miami speed.
Yeah.
They are much more present against the Jets' physicality. Yeah. That's kind of lends itself to them. And I think Jennings played for the same reason.
Yeah. But Bentley was awesome against the Jets. But
that's his game.
That's why I like them against Dallas, is because I think that he can play that way. Like, if you're going to play in a phone booth against Jawan Bentley and run it right at him.
I just think they're different caliber players. That's all.
I mean,
that's valid.
Dallas has
Absolutely.
different caliber players, I mean.
But Uche, 26 snaps last week. He's a really interesting player to me, of how the league's going to view him this offseason and how the Patriots are going to view him this offseason. He certainly looks athletic out there running around, but
I think he's fine.
I think he's a
role player, and I think he does fine in that role.
Yep.
I feel for Kyle Duggar in that respect, because I don't think it's on purpose. I know people wear the tinfoil hat on these types of things and say that, but they have to replace Devin McCourty. He has to be a part of that, and he's moving further and further away from the ball. So all of those plays on the ball that he made last year are now all going to Jabril Peppers, who happens to not be a free agent.
Full disclosure, in general terms, I'm one of those tinfoil hat guys. I agree with Evan what he just said about Duggar. I don't think this one is that. I think this is out of necessity.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're not thrilled with Adrian Phillips and Jalen Mills because they haven't played a whole lot.
Yeah.
So it's Duggar, it's Peppers,
Yeah, Mills a little more this week, but you're right about.
But
Phillips.
I don't feel like it was some kind of orchestrated attempt to. I think you could make an argument with what they did with the tackles last year. I had the tinfoil hat on for that, and clearly so did Trent Brown.
But shocker.
But I don't look at this that way. I think that Duggar is probably not going to have the stats that he did last year anyway. I mean, the ball found him a lot last year. Like a fumble. Remember the fumble that Hopkins had against Arizona when he was carrying it like this and he just dropped it, and then Duggar picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown. Like those, that's not likely to happen 2 years in a row. And now you couple the fact that he's been sort of single high a little bit, which he never was.
No,
when Devin was here.
It must be so hard for other teams, especially on defense, to project how the Patriots players would fit into their scheme. Because if you're going to sign Uche to a big deal and you like his pass rush ability, he's never been a 3-down defensive player going back to college. He's always just kind of been a pass rusher. And how much do other teams really value that role? For if we're going to pay a defensive end outside linebacker, we want to make sure he's going to be playing a lot for us.
I don't know how much, but I think every team has those kinds of players. I just don't know how much you pay for that.
Yeah, right.
He's not Von Miller, who's going to command big money as a situational pass rusher. But I don't know. Could it be Leonard Floyd?
It's just really hard to see him as anything more than a situational pass rusher, because like you said, he didn't even do that in college.
No.
At Michigan, he was a rotational guy too, and it's really hard to shake that reputation around the league. A lot of times teams do go back to their college evaluation of players, and they're like, this is what we thought of him coming out. It's sort of what he's been in the league. We view him as a third down guy, and that's it.
Yep.
I'd be very surprised if he leaves because of a big money deal.
Yeah.
I for all the reasons you guys just said, I think if he leaves, it's going to be because the Patriots clearly didn't really want him.
Then they just think they could get a third down pass rush outside guy who's got some traits. Yeah. That's
emailer says, what happens when Thornton comes back? Does he help the Patriots pass game more because he's our deep threat?
Hopefully.
I
mean, that would be the optimistic
hoping
view.
against hope that he's going to bring an element of speed.
I'm ready to get hurt again by Taekwon Thorin.
You're gonna put yourself out
3
there.
games.
I'm gonna be vulnerable, Paul, and I'm gonna put myself out there again because
I'm proud of you.
They don't have very many guys that can separate, like whatever way you want to call that, like route running. Speed with Taekwon's
So
case.
Thornton's going to come back, and like in the 5th game, he's going to get hurt again. He's going to be like, "We are never, ever, ever
getting back together."
Oh, I do it every time with him. I'm infatuated by the skill set, and the player has just not consistently been able to put it together. But when you see those flashes, man, like even the catch he got hurt on in joint practices against the Packers, ran right by everybody, and got hurt laying out for the pass in practice.
Let's see. Phil writes in, if Strange is out and City So is healthy, is he an option at left guard? And if so, does he look better than Mafi?
I was thinking a little bit about that. I
Don't know.
So played, that was where he played last year in college. I don't know. It's a good question. Are they on him at tackle and that's it? Because it kind of seemed like it. Although did they give him
Well,
some
he played
reps at
guard in week 1.
He played guard week
right,
1.
Right, he's got in there. So maybe. I mean, I would keep an eye on both Mafi and him as potential guys, especially with Onwenu as a free agent. I mean, is it crazy to think that next year those are your 2 starting guards?
Nope. And I would applaud them for that, as long as they can play.
Yeah,
I would
because
pay
that's what
Big
you.
Mike.
But that's what you do. You draft guys to replace the guys that you think you might lose.
Yeah,
that's what they used to do when they were really rolling.
I would pay Big Mike.
I think that's going to be a fun off-season debate about Big Mike.
I mean, you have $75 million in cap space. Like, where else are you going to spend it?
Receiver, kid. We're going to need a receiver.
Okay, so there's $20 million.
We need more than one receiver. That's not going to do it, guy.
Like, how many? It's $75 million to get to that number, and they spend to the cap. Like, we can talk about the cash and all that, but they spend to the cap every year, mostly.
Mostly.
How else are you gonna get there? Without paying some of these guys,
right?
It's just what are you gonna be $40 million under the cap?
Well, I mean, but you still have to bring back some people, probably, right?
Yeah,
that's what he's talking about. Michael
Big Mike,
Duggar.
and Duggar. I think both. There's no reason from a cap standpoint. So those 2 guys are going to cost probably $10 million each at most. I would say.
I think Duggar's going to get some money.
So you're there. You go. You spent 20% of your $80 million in cap space on those 2 guys.
Christian in North Carolina. Look what happens when the star player you paid has to show up in a moment when you need him to. And he's talking about Judon. Imagine if we had that on the offense. We might be able to convert crucial 3rd downs and close out games, or even better, come back and win.
Yeah.
Feel bad for this defense. It's going to get old quick for them.
I gotcha. Tedious of having to hold the fort every game.
When we were watching the game.
Speaking of that, the Jets, they're ready to implode.
Oh, this Patriots broke another team, right? Huh?
Is it weird
right?
to you guys
Deuce.
I did it.
Check. Good job.
Is it weird to you guys that Aaron Rodgers is going on Pat McAfee and talking
Tell him
about,
to grow up
and talking about his own team?
Very strange.
Right?
It's
Very
like
strange.
he's above it.
But he's under contract. He's still a Jet, and he's going on.
He's going to be their quarterback next year.
Yeah, it's very odd.
It's weird. Let's see. Rob in San Diego via Connecticut. This might be a summation of the ongoing live discussion regarding Gonzo and wide receiver draft picks. I think that people are trying to say defense is just not as important in 2023 due to many factors ranging from offensive schemes to change in rules. The outdated perspective of Bill is how he chooses to allocate resources. He isn't doing anything different in 2023 than he did in 2016, 2008, or prior. That's the problem. He no longer has the GOAT, and the league has changed. Put a statue on the man outside Gillette the day he leaves, but I think we are watching the career arc of many excellent past coaches who ended with a series of mediocre seasons.
It's a common take.
Yeah. When's the last? Well, I guess Bill Walsh. He went out on top, right?
Yeah.
He went out on top, but coaches don't normally win it and say, I'm done.
Fade away.
Yeah.
Marv Levy, that was...
No. John Madden did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
He did.
But he was early, right? I mean,
he
has the best winning percentage of all time, I believe, still.
Yeah.
But that's
percentages.
Partly because that's why I just said best winning
But I
percentage.
think,
Why
like,
not?
when you're a coach, that's what you are. Like, you can't imagine yourself doing anything else.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you're still coaching at that age, like,
what else are you
you
gonna
probably die like a minute after you retire, anyways. So.
Like the Chuck Knowles, Tom Landry's, those types, they had greatness. They slowly deteriorated once the quarterback, and then they had like 4 or 5 mediocre to bad seasons, and then they were done.
Right? Shula, same way.
It's funny. My grandfather coached at Tufts, coached track until he died. He was like, I think 71.
And then when Bill Rogers was no longer winning marathons, like
he never won
couldn't
anymore.
keep it going. Couldn't win it without.
But it was. I remember my dad saying he continued to win till the end. But I remember my dad telling me that like he just I don't get these kids. They're it was like in the 70s, like they're long hair and
These
hippies. Yeah, he'd get all fired up. Like he
These
just
damn
couldn't
hippies.
Couldn't connect with the players anymore, right?
Claire. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Had a wonderful time
Hey,
on
girl.
Claire's
Hello, bud.
podcast last week.
Oh, yeah?
I did.
Favreau Brown.
What's going on in there?
Favreau Brown.
That name is
Perhaps,
meant
she
for-
says.
Just perhaps. The Jets are sticking with Wilson to fail enough to drop the top quarterback next year to put behind Rodgers for 1 year in 2024 and then take over the year after. Just a thought.
Oh, quiet quit.
So wouldn't be the dumbest thing.
No, I mean, so Saleh and Douglas now have their way of tanking without tanking. We're sticking with our quarterback.
And plus, it's not going to be any different with Trevor Siemian. But
right,
if you go to Woody Johnson and say, "Listen, we're screwed. Like we can't get anybody in. We can't get anybody in right
it's
now.
Trevor Siemian
right?
or bust.
So we're going to win 3 or 4 games. We're not going to do much better than that. But it's going to put us in a position to get
Caleb
somebody.
Williams. Here he comes.
Somebody.
I think,
and we'll have Aaron Rodgers next year. So we're going to win immediately because if you can keep that team reasonably intact, you're going to win next year.
And then you got a quarterback for 10 years. I mean,
When
I
you
think
lose along the way.
I think this Mac thing has changed my philosophy a little bit. Like to me, it's kind of a no-brainer to just do that. Maybe that's because I feel kind of like the Patriots have burned 2 of the last 3 seasons for just S's and giggles, But like, if you get Caleb Williams, like, you know what I mean? You have a guy that you can play with and win games.
Caleb Williams is a special prospect. Some people are like putting him in the Hall of Fame already, and I'm not like I don't know about that, but
who knows?
He's
No
a
one
special
knows.
prospect. Yeah. But end of the day, is it unless you improve the supporting cast, like how much better is it truly going to be, unless he's like generationally good, right?
You
like
mean for the Patriots?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
and I still that's why I still go and say that supporting Mac is the best path forward for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like building around him and making him, like he likes to say, I want to be a point guard. Like I just want to distribute the ball to the open guy. Like I don't want to, have to
Throw
do
500 yards a game.
Right. And if that to me is still the better route for this team, but like if you're the team like the Jets that are going to lose anyways, then
That's what I mean. It's like, and what are they gonna pick? 7th? Like they're gonna like
Who, the Patriots?
No, the Jets. Like
oh
I'm
no,
saying,
they would have to like really bottom out. Like
Like,
last year, they
right.
won 7 games with that
But
guy.
just go for it. Like what's the difference?
Mike
if you
White
pick
won a
7th?
couple, didn't he?
Yeah, he won 5. He went 5 and 4 though. Mike White won 1 game. I
Okay,
believe,
I
something
thought it
like
was-
that.
I thought it was 2.
Flacco won at least 1, maybe 2.
But if you're just so sick of the Jets, you've been doing this forever. Like you have a chance to maybe like, you kind of screw it up this year, but then you could be set for the next few. You got everything else in place.
Yeah, I think Mike White went 1 and 3. Flacco went 1 and 3, and then. See, yeah.
See, if I'm
it's
the
another
Jets,
one of
though-
my pie charts that didn't add up to 100.
You
so I stopped. Pulled the plug.
You have to it has to be Caleb Williams to me.
Yeah.
Because like all these other quarterbacks are just like they're good prospects. Don't get they're first round guys, but like them like Zach Wilson was a first round guy. Like you know what I mean? Like it just the Caleb Williams is the only one that's like generational prospect level.
Once you get past 3rd overall, there's some kind of projection involved, and there's certainly talented guys there, but I would say like the hit rate just rapidly drops, and unless you just happen to stink beyond all belief the 1 year that one of these guys is coming out,
Yeah, and that the hard thing is identifying the guy. Like I did a little of this because I'm going in to talk to my boys on my show.
Oh boy!
And one of my boys' big thing is now, why would you ever do that? Why would you all these guys? They all stink. Why are you going to? You're going to trade up in the top 10. You're going to take a guy who stinks. Like, okay, because
Wonder who that would be.
Because this is why, Michael. Because
Michael, me
a very rudimentary listing of quarterbacks. Okay,
he's practicing.
just going to give you, and this is not necessarily in any order, but Patrick
We're
Mahomes.
shopping it right here.
Patrick
Yes.
Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. Okay? Did I miss some? I mean, I know I read them really fast, but I'm not telling you this is the top 15. I'm not the order, but that's about what the best quarterbacks are right now in football, right? Okay, out of that group, they're all first-round picks except for Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson. I included Russell Wilson based on his career, not what he is right now.
Right.
Okay, but I recognize that throughout his career he was a top 10 quarterback. So I'm going to include him out of the interest of fairness. He was a third-round pick. Dak, fourth round. Jalen Hurts, second round. All the rest of those guys are first-round picks. So I know that there's a million busts. I know that Zach Wilson shouldn't be in the league, right? I know that. I know Justin Fields is a disaster right now. Trey Lance is hurt. But if you want to get one of these guys, you have to pick him in the first round if you want a guy. You just got to hope you get it right.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Like, Felger is adamant.
Sam Rosen.
He's adamant. Josh Rosen. Sam, good broadcaster. Josh, bad quarterback.
Sweet Kid says, which running back gives you the best chance to win this game, Zeke or Mondre?
I mean, Zeke, based on what last week,
Well,
and he's got
if
some
it's-
motivation.
If it's not Mondre, we got bigger problems.
Why?
Because he should be your best running back.
But what if Elliott's better? Who do you?
He's
do you
not
care?
better.
Oh,
Not right now. Come
I
on.
just thought he was
I
motivated.
agree with you, but I don't really like.
I think they're doing a thing
What difference
for him,
does it make
too.
if one guy is good and the other guy is not? Who cares?
I think that this game is definitely.
If our best running back right now is Zeke Elliott, we got problems.
Okay.
And I think we can.
Hard words from a
solve
hard
them.
man.
We got a really big.
We could just
and
do
we
this
got
all. We
bad
could do this
blood.
forever.
Hey! Sorry.
Zeke's got
End of show.
if Zeke's decisiveness that he showed in a game against the Jets is what he's going to be, then the way that the Cardinals ran on the Cowboys, then Zeke I think is probably your best bet.
They're doing a thing for him too. I think they're a little honor.
I do think he
Thank
will
you,
be
Zeke.
motivated.
Yeah.
For sure.
Turn your mic on.
James Pettigrew, the
20,
most
24
interesting
years.
Patriots fans in the world, says, I'm with Evan and Mike, I think. I feel like there might be some bones on this team. Whilst our offense sucks, I feel like our defense makes us a difficult out.
Yeah.
Oh, I would largely agree with that. Yeah. I don't think
No,
they're an
Paul.
easy.
He said he agrees with me and Mike.
No, but I don't think they're an easy team
You're
to play
not allowed
against.
to have that opinion.
Butt out. I just
don't
want them,
think they're a threat.
I just want them to surprise me. I haven't been surprised in so long. I haven't seen. You know what I mean? Like every game, I feel like I'm like, yep, that's about right. You know, like
the out and out glee on your
just want
face is just
surprise.
priceless.
I'm not glee. It's not glee.
Oh no, it's I just want to be
it's the
surprised.
desire. Surprise.
I want to wake up on Christmas morning and get everything I
I
wanted.
want that BB gun, and I don't want Dad to hide it in the corner. I want it when I unwrap my presents, and I don't have any surprises.
Kyle and Pembroke, I know Gilmore is a stud of a cornerback. However, I noticed he's been vulnerable against quicker wide receivers as he's gotten older. Do you think we could use Pop Douglas as a mismatch
Should have
against
pressed
Gilmore?
him. Should have pressed him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be covering Demario Douglas.
Gilmore is definitely still a starting caliber corner, but he has lost a step. I will agree with that.
But they're not going to put him on a little slot guy.
No.
That's never been his game.
No.
The height
No.
of his powers.
How dare you say that about me? I'm the best cornerback in the game still.
No, I think
he's still really good.
Christian Gonzalez
Quiet assassin.
chiming in from the other side.
I remember
think-
watching him
I think
every
I'm
day.
pretty-
Who's more quiet? Who's going to say more in the game? Is that an over/under? Matt,
I
can we
think
get an
I'm pretty
over/under
good,
on that
too.
one?
We
Have
should
like a
we should
mute off.
Yeah, we should
We'll
mic
mic them up.
Mic
Whoever
both
says
of
the
them up.
least.
I would actually think that, like, in all seriousness,
fascinating.
though, they would never let us mic up Christian Gonzalez because he's a rookie. But, like, miking up Christian Gonzalez just to hear the silence, like, might
Yeah.
actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think
Like-
I think it'd be great if you mic'd him up and then it was like, you mother.
I know. It turns out he's
Not
the
what we were
biggest trash talker we've ever
Not what we were
seen.
But just
expecting.
like,
He gets in the locker
Or
room,
if
he's like,
he's
The
super
silence,
polite
yeah.
too.
Just
So
like
if
him-
he's
You
really
have him-
soft-spoken
you have
and
him-
polite.
You feature him mic'd up, and you have the song "The Sound of Silence" in the background.
just
Hello,
like the
darkness.
the sound. Like, I just need the sound of his feet. You
Yeah.
know, like just like just him.
It'd be
just
like a drum. It'd be like,
No, like
Yeah,
some
yeah.
breathing.
be great.
like the start of
I'd
Hot for
love it.
Teacher.
I'd eat that up.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We'll be back tomorrow with picks and everything else.
2 words: market correction.
Oh yeah, that means Paul won. We'll put the hay in the barn tomorrow. Right now, it's John Rook in the playbook. That's coming up next. we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, final Bob's read for a final time. Let's talk stats. All right. Bob's Discount Furniture has sofas that convert to sleepers when you're feeling sacked, mattresses that put you to sleep as soon as you touch down, and thousands of highly rated styles that keep the home team happy. Shop at Bob's, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original